Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is the grumpy old man. He is our NHL analyst and expert, and they say there is no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, first win at UBS Arena. First win at the Islanders' new arena.
Big win. Had to beat the Devils tonight. We did, thank goodness. I thank Lindy Ruff for playing Mr. Schmidt in goal today. Certainly helped us out. But good game for the Islanders. Must win. So a lot of firsts. The first Zach Parise goal of the year. The first Andy Green goal of the year. So good news all around today. Oliver Wahlstrom looked good. Kiefer Bellows looked good. Zdeno Chara took a instigator penalty, which kept him out of the first period, which is always good. So a lot of good things happening for the Islanders tonight. And maybe it's something we can build upon. I don't know.
Yes. Grumpy old man. You like what I did there? But it was a game that was a must win. It's a game
like you got up and you were showing your ass a little bit. That's what it looked like to me.
I'm wearing my nighttime pants, Grump.
Okay.
But before we get too much into today's podcast and talk a lot about Islanders hockey, remember, this is a twice-a-week podcast that happens every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, as an additional bonus, for those who like our Facebook page, who follow on Twitter, and who subscribe on YouTube, you also can watch along the live games with us, where we just commentate and react to what's going on during the Islanders game live as it happens. We go live every single Islander game that is not played on a Thursday and played on a Sunday. So to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. Also, be sure to check out our podcast where we talk sports and shoot the shit, called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That is in the link in the description below. Again, you could subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. And that's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Yes. What are you doing over there, TJ? Eating?
Well, I got myself a nice celebratory drink, a little Long Island iced tea. First home game win at UBS. And I've got some nuts.
So in other words, you're going to be doing this podcast drunk.
Yeah, there we go. You could say it like that, Grump. It's only a Long Island iced tea, Grumpy.
Okay.
That being said,
this a first.
Big win for the Islanders tonight. It was a must-needed win. You know, maybe it's a little bit of the monkey off the back. First win at home at UBS Arena. That being said, I honestly would have been shocked if they lost, right? The Devils, I'm not taking anything away from that team, but they were playing with their fourth string goalie, right? Their guy, the AHL netminder Schmid, who was fourth in the organizational depth charts, and the Islanders were able to take advantage of that. The guy let in a soft year too, but it's needed for the Islanders to get that win on the board. That's our first win against a Metro Division rival all season long. Think about it. This is our first win against a Metro opponent all season long. Also, this is a first win the Islanders have had when they have given up the first goal of the game. Think about that, guys. About a quarter of the way through the season, the first time we've beat a Metro opponent, and the first time we've ever beaten an opponent while being down, while giving up the first goal.
Yes. True. And you went on so long, I forgot what point I was going to make. So maybe you should stop drinking so much, and because you start to ramble.
I'm not even drinking yet, Grumpy.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay, you have nothing to talk about. First win against the Metro rival?
No, you just keep on hitting that point home. I don't think we played a whole lot of Metro teams yet. So, it's not like we've lost 10 games to the Metro teams.
Okay, we've played the Penguins. We've played the Flyers, I believe.
No,
we played the Carolina Hurricanes. I know we've lost to the Devils earlier on this year, also. So I mean, what have we played? 3, 4, 5 Metro.
So maybe this is our fifth game against the Metro teams. Small sample.
Rangers as well this year. So I mean, I'm just saying it's our first win against a Metro rival. That's important to get that win under our belt.
Yeah. So happy. Josh Bailey had one of his typical Josh Bailey assists. Passes the puck to Matt Barzell, who then draws all the coverage to him, dumps it back to Andy Green, who takes a shot on net, and Mr. Siv but gets beat long side on that. So, hey, good news. Good news all around.
Let's also talk about this too, grumpy old man. Sorokin let in a weak goal on the second. You could argue maybe both of those were not, Sorokin's finest work in the first period, but bounced back. And the team as a whole, I think a lot of the offense was generated by our defensemen today. I mean, Noah Dobson scored another goal, albeit it was redirected in front of the net by a member of the Devils, and Andy Green scored that goal, which is kind of a weakie. But I thought Wallstrom had a fantastic game. I thought Dobson had a good game. I thought there were a lot of the shining bright stars on the team today. A lot of the younger guys.
Yeah, they seem to have more jump. I've not been impressed with the veterans on this team for honestly the whole year for the most part. So, it's nice to see the young guys step up a little bit. All that with Wallstrom with limited playing time, very limited playing time under Barry Trotz, which is mystifying to me.
And Drew, we're going to check that out after the game, the one that you gave us the in-depth on Josh Hosang, if it's going to be that long, like 20 minutes long. We'll have to check that out after the game. That being said, Oliver Wallstrom has been playing really, really good hockey so far, grumpy old man. He has. Over the last 6 games, he scored 3 goals, had 5 assists. I think he's looked really engaged in the defensive side of the puck, and offensively, he's been doing a fantastic job. Do you want to take a gamble and a guess, grumpy old man, around how many minutes of ice time Oliver Wallstrom has been playing over that 6-game span where he's got 3 goals and 5 assists?
I would think, his normal 10 or 12 minutes.
About 12 minutes of ice time a night.
Not enough.
And we asked this during the live stream of the game. Are we crazy to think that when a guy is playing as well as Oliver Wallstrom is, and is as hot as Oliver Wallstrom is, with 3 goals and 5 assists over a 6-game span, should they not be given and awarded more ice time because they are playing and they are performing? The guy's still playing and averaging sometimes 10 minutes of ice time a night. And again, it didn't hurt us tonight. We won the game, which is good. But I'm thinking long term, right? A guy like that needs to be given more time on the ice when he's performing the way he is. A team that can't score and a guy is scoring and providing offense, but doesn't play a lot of ice time.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be frustrating for him, right? And the other big news today also was Anthony Beauvillier was a healthy scratch. They moved.
We'll talk about that. Let's talk about Oliver Wallstrom. Then I want to move into Beauvillier. Then I want to move into other comments that were made about the organization. But I want you to talk about Oliver Wallstrom.
Yeah. 8 points in 5 games?
8 points in 6 games.
6 games. All right. Proven to be an assist machine too, right? So, what does that do for his game? It means that you just can't play him to shoot the puck now when he's willing to make passes like that. And today on the Pajot goal, he wasn't looking to shoot at all. And they kind of backed off him a little bit. And it was a nice feathered pass to Pajot, who pumped it home past the sieve. Still, but nice play. And that just adds another dimension to Oliver Wallstrom's game. He needs to be playing more, period. He should be on the first line. Why Josh Bailey's on the first line is just another scratch your head moment, honestly. He's nothing. He's a wasteoid. I was so glad that, I was so glad he did not score an empty net goal, just throwing it towards the net because he's trying to get an Anders Lee, a Brock Nelson, any of the veterans a point, a goal, so they can pump up their stats. So we can say, oh, look, Josh Bailey scored a goal. Look, Anders Lee scored a goal. Look, Brock Nelson scored a goal. Yeah, but they had 4 minutes of empty net, and they missed open nets about 5 times.
I want to apologize to you, Grumpy. Oliver Wallstrom's performance, where he's got 3 goals and 5 assists, actually has come over a 5-game span.
There you go.
So the guy has been playing fantastic hockey. He's been averaging just a little over 12 minutes of ice time over that span. People have been calling, asking, imploring, why is Oliver Wallstrom not being given more of a shot? He did take a shift at the end of the second period on the first line, and resulted immediately in drawing a penalty, and the Islanders went on a power play. And I'm just not so sure why a guy who's performing and continue to put up points is playing less minutes on ice than his line mates, as in Zach Parise and Jean-Gabriel Pageau on a consistent basis, right? You could
Because he's
say,
a young guy. That's the only reason. He trusts veterans. He doesn't trust young guys. That's why he's not a great coach. He's a good coach, not a great coach.
well, Zach Parise does play time on the penalty kill, and so does Jean-Gabriel Pageau. But you still look at it,
They play
Zach
power
Parise,
play too.
Zach Parise some nights is playing 17 minutes of ice time a night, sometimes 14, 13. He's never dipping really below 13 minutes on ice. And you could say, okay, maybe a minute, minute and a half more is his time on a penalty kill. When I see outliers of, hey, 17, 14, 15 minutes of ice time, I think to myself, all right, there's times out there where Wallstrom's not getting as much time on those shifts, and the guy has been performing lights out. I'm just wondering, when are we going to see more of a role for him and less of a role for Josh Bailey?
Never. Never. Josh Bailey played like the last 4 minutes of the game today. I mean, when they had an empty net, they figure, how bad could Josh Bailey hurt us? But you talk about Parise getting 17 minutes a night. He's a glorified fourth liner at this stage of his career. I don't understand why Barry Trotz feels the need to just give minutes to players like that. I mean, he scored his first goal and he missed a wide open empty net. I don't know how he could have missed it. You want to know why he was cut by Minnesota? That's why. Because you miss an empty net like that from the blue line. I'm sorry.
Let's talk about that. Jared Bam mentions it too. Zach cashed out Parise, scores his first goal. I'm with a lady right now, but I can't wait to come back and listen to the podcast. But Grump, Zach Parise does score his first goal on a shorty. A shorty, by the way, Zach Parise gets on a breakaway. Pageau wildly misses the puck on the first slap at it, and it actually works out to his favor where he can then backhand a perfect pass to Zach Parise, who's got one-on-one with the goalie, puts it right between the 5-hole, and Parise scores his first goal, suitingly enough, against the New Jersey Devils.
That was sloppy play by the Devils. That was totally sloppy play, not a recognition
by Hamilton too.
Hamilton, and then the other forward coming back, he just let Parise walk by. I mean, he just stood there and let him skate by. It's like, come on, fellas.
I don't disagree. It was nice to see though Zach Parise get his first goal. That being said, I mean, he is what he is, right? Don't expect Zach Parise putting up more than about maybe 10 goals a season. 10 goals right now this year. He's a guy who puts a lot of hustle and effort out there. He just does not have the scoring touch anymore.
He'd have to go on a tremendous hot streak to get 10 goals this year. He's on pace for like less than 4. So, I mean, he'd have to really increase. You miss an empty netter. I'm like, we were doing the watch along. I'm like, he's going to score his second. Holy crap, he missed an empty net. I mean, I don't know how he missed it from there. Honestly,
I was shocked too. I think he was a little bit impeded. That being said,
I just want to know how a 37-year-old who's new to the team somehow can play power play, penalty kill, even strength. And when you have a young kid who's infinitely more talented at this stage of his career, can't even get off the bench.
I don't disagree, Grump. Well, it definitely is mystifying. That being said, let's talk about some of the change-ups that happened in the lineup tonight. Tonight we saw, there was the big headline, Anthony Beauvillier was healthy scratched this evening in favor of the returning Brock Nelson and Casey Cizikas, right? Zarnak was sent down to Bridgeport, had 3 points tonight at Bridgeport, was playing well for the Islanders in his short stint, but was sent down to Bridgeport nonetheless. And we saw also Otto Koivula sent down to Bridgeport, had 3 goals tonight for Bridgeport. Now, that being said, you saw immediately Brock Nelson and Casey Cizikas put back into the lineup. And then Anthony Beauvillier, though, grumpy old man, healthy scratch this evening.
Okay, so what do those moves tell us, right? Number one, when Beauvillier gets put back in the lineup, it's bye-bye Kiefer Bellows. Automatically. That's what you're going to see. And for the life of me, I don't understand it. There's other guys on this team who deserve to get benched just as much as Anthony Beauvillier. And I'm going to tell you what, Kiefer Bellows is not one of them. I don't understand why they sent Jarnac down. Why would you, a line that was working, why would you possibly break that up? I don't understand it myself. Or keep Jarnac up and have him play a wing. Palmieri has done nothing. Josh Bailey has done less than nothing. Why not sit those guys down? I mean, like I said, he has no
Well,
problem sitting a younger guy like Bavillier, none whatsoever. And Anthony Bavillier deserved to be sat down. But so has Josh Bailey, so has Kyle Palmieri, and so has Zach Parise. I know Parise scored today, but those guys have been the results for those players have been really underwhelming. Sit them. Send a message. The only message you send is you're an old guy. You're a member in good standing with Barry Trotz. When you're healthy, you're playing. Young guys, fuck you. You're going to sit. That's what it says to me.
it's got more to do, though, with the fact that they need to have the roster spots available for Brock, reactivating Brock and Casey. In my opinion, I like the way
Casey Leakers was invisible tonight.
I was about to say, I like the way Zarnak played. And even if Casey's like, hey, I think I can go back, I would say, let's give it one more game. I want you to really be 110% when you come back. You're recovering from COVID. Let's give it one more game. Again, I if you could do that. I don't know what you can and can't do regarding the COVID and everything like that in the situation regarding, how many roster spots are available. If it's like, hey, once a doctor deems you're good to go, you're forced to, resume and take that roster spot back. I have no idea. That being said, unfortunate not to see Zarnak because I thought he played really well in his stint. And that's nothing I would ever have expected to say at the beginning of this season. And it didn't hurt us, but we had a third line the last few games that was really performing with Bellows, Sarnak, and Wallstrom, and we break that line up. But
what does it say? What does it say the way the organization feels about players who aren't their guys? No shot of playing, none. We've seen it over and over. Now we're seeing it drift out in the media. Very interesting.
Yep, I was about to say, it is odd. It is odd, but those guys who are not, one of the sacred cows for certain, even if you played really well in your time period and your stint up in the NHL, well, there's other guys that we just feel like are better than you. And even though you're playing really great hockey right now, we feel better with Casey. We feel better with Casey. We feel better with XYZ out there on the ice. It's got to be disheartening for some players on the ice. It's got to be disheartening for players that are part of this organization, which, trust me, we're going to get to some comments made by ex-Islander Anatoly Golishev. We're going to get to that later, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the change-ups of the lineup first. So Anthony Bavillier was sat. Grump, let me ask you this. Do you think he needed to be sat? I know we talked about this a little bit, but Anthony Bavillier was not playing great hockey. Are you upset he was sat? And kind of give me a little bit more about your reaction on that.
Barry ripped him in the press conference after Thursday's game. And rightfully so. He has not played well, so I have no problem at all with sitting him. That said, there are other guys in a similar situation. Barry never rips in the press and never sits. That's my main problem with Barry Trotz. Okay? He has different sets of rules for certain players. For his guys, his little pals, his little favorites, the clique, they can do no wrong. You never hear them getting ripped. You never see him lose an ice time. But if it's a young guy who makes a mistake or somebody who's not one of his guys, he shreds them in the press, just shreds them and then benches them. That's what he does. You never see Josh Bailey, who's been abysmal this season, the worst forward in the league, absolutely the worst forward in the league, the worst forward in the National Hockey League this season, somehow never sits. What does he do? He plays on the first line. That's what Barry Trotz does. Why not give Wallstrom a shot playing on the first line? He'll shoot the puck. What does Bailey do? He's just a turnover waiting to happen. Useless.
Good gracious. Michael T is saying, my nighttime pants. Who says this? But Josh Bailey has been miserable this season, but he's still going to play top 6 minutes, man. It's mystifying to me as well.
What has Zach Parise done this year to deserve 17 minutes a night in ice time?
Honestly, I could not tell you. Zach, he hustles, he tries hard, but guess what? It's not like there's a lack of effort. That's a question mark behind Oliver Wahlstrom. The guy did. I mean, think about the goal that he set up today, right? Jean-Gabriel Pageau did a great job of intercepting the pass coming from the Devils, and Oliver Wahlstrom did a great job of hustling for the loose puck, won it along the boards, taps it past the Devils defenseman, and he leads a great feed over to Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and we're able to score on. I think to myself, okay, that's a great job of making sure that on those turnovers and those opportunities, you're capitalizing. And he's been doing that. And I think this comment made here is really, really important to speak about, grumpy old man. Um, SP said, I'm still absolutely shocked that Wallstrom played even less time than he did last game.
It's
The
Barry
guy has
Trotz.
3 goals and 5 assists in the last 5 games, and he's only playing about 10 minutes of ice time. He played less than 10 minutes and 15 seconds on the ice tonight, Grump. It's disturbing. It's disturbing.
And you wonder why Barry Trotz lost his job after winning a Stanley Cup. I'm not surprised.
And here's the thing, guys. This did not affect tonight's outcome, did not affect tonight's game, right? We won. That's the overarching issue. That's terrific. We won our first game at UBS. That is the grand picture. That's the grand scope. But in the same token, right, we all see the same thing. Oliver Wahlstrom is playing really, really good hockey, and yet he's not being afforded the same opportunities that other skaters are. And I could see how that could piss a player off. And trust me, we'll talk about how it could piss players off here coming up shortly with Anatoly Golishev's comments and what the situation it was that.
I just feel bad that Kiefer Bellows is not going to get any more run. Because that's what's going to happen. Kiefer Bellows won't play anymore. We probably won't see him the rest of the year. Never see him again. No more injuries. Kiefer Bellows, you're never playing. I mean, you say, oh, how Zach Parise earns that time, 17 minutes a game. Well, he hustles. Well, you know what? Jarnac hustled. Panic hustled when he was in the lineup. Even matter of fact, they look better than Zach Parise because they're better skaters at this stage of life. Okay? And I'm not putting down Zach Parise. I have no problem if he plays on the 4th line with limited minutes. None at all for $750K a year. But to say that he certainly doesn't deserve 17 minutes a game while you have Oliver Wahlstrom, who's a legitimate goal scorer on this team that is bereft of that particular skill set, scores, how many goals? I mean, he's second in the team in goal scoring, right?
Christ Almighty, Grumpy, you're jumping
right.
all over.
He's second in the team in goal scoring, right?
Yeah, he's got 8 goals,
and he can't play more than 12 minutes a night. And Zach Parise, 1 goal all season, gets more minutes. It's mystifying, mind-boggling, stupefying. It's Barry Trotz.
Okay. Tony G saying dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets and Long Island iced tea. But yeah, John Smith saying, yeah, Bailey, 17 minutes of ice time tonight, laughing out loud.
Astounding. And he had him out there at the end. Anders Lee, who can't skate, Josh Bailey, who sucks, Andy Green, and Zdeno Chara. Why are those guys out in the last 4 minutes with an empty net?
Think about that. Andy Green and Zdeno Chara were both on the ice at the same time. Grumpy and I talked about this during the live stream. You heard earlier on this week, Barry Trotz utilized Oliver Wahlstrom has never played in a 3-on-3 situation before, and we talked amongst the coaches, and we weren't comfortable knowing if we could throw him out here in that situation. Well, I wonder if later on in the year, if we're in some sort of, pinch, let's say if we make the playoffs, hypothetically. I'm not going to say when we do because I think it's more of an if than a when. But if we make the playoffs this season, and let's say we're playing with a goal advantage, and the other team pulls their goalie, you don't want and Andy Green and Zdeno Chara together on ice ate the majority of the time up. Noah Dobson, I don't think, took a single shift when the New Jersey Devils goalie was pulled. If someone has that and prove me wrong, let me know. But I don't think he took a single shift when New Jersey had their goalie pulled. And I think to myself, what type of rationale are we going to hear, in the playoffs or an ideal playoff situation where Noah Dobson, one of your top 4 defensemen, won't see any time on the ice in the playoffs because, he hasn't experienced any time, when they're playing with an empty net. When in reality, you're up by 2 goals against the New Jersey Devils. Why not let them log some minutes? You were out there 4 minutes. 4 minutes they had their goalie pulled. Why not give Noah Dobson a shift?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing I've been preaching for the last couple of years with Noah Dobson, all younger players. You say, well, you can't trust them in those circumstances. How do you know? They've never been in those circumstances. Today was a perfect example of what you should do with young players, and Barry Trotz refused to do it. 2-goal lead. There was no way the Devils were coming back. You put the young guys out there to get them that experience in those circumstances. As I said before, you play the young guys more minutes more than sheltered minutes during the regular season. So this way, when the postseason comes, they're ready to step up if they need to. But if you don't give them that opportunity in the regular season, you're certainly not going to do it in the playoffs.
Frank
Why
K.
would you not give Noah Dobson? I'm not saying Salo, but I will say Dobson in particular, and maybe a Bellows or one of the other forwards out there. Give them a shot to play in a different situation so you see what you have down the line. I mean, I just don't understand it. And it was all his old favorites again.
Frank
Anders
K.
Lee,
Oh my God.
who can't even skate. Why the hell is he out there? I swear it's because he wants to pad his stats so he doesn't have to hear shit about what garbage Anders Lee is or Brock Nelson or Josh Bailey. Well, look, Josh Bailey scored a goal. Woo! Yeah, no, I'm glad that shot got blocked.
Frank K said Ross needs to stay in. I think you're 100% right. Ross Johnson will be in for the foreseeable future. And the funny thing is, right, Mike B saying Wallstrom had 9 minutes. He played less time on ice than Ross Johnston tonight. Does that even make sense, Grump?
Not to me, it doesn't.
What you got going on over there, Grumpy?
I was looking at something.
Warzone
Don't worry.
season.
I pulled the freaking TJ. You know how that happens to you all the time? It happens once to me, and all of a sudden you're grilling me on it.
I'm not grilling you on it, Grump.
That's
I honestly, I didn't know what was going on. Warzone Senior Citizen says, "Hi, fellas, Erica," and I say, "Hello. We love Grumpy Old Man and TJ Show more than the Islanders." Well, thanks
Thank
to
you, Warzone.
Warzone Senior Citizen, and thank you, Erica.
Yes.
Now it is disturbing that Wallstrom didn't get a lot of time on ice tonight. That being said, we won the game. Let's talk about the other change that happened tonight. Sebastian Aho sat in favor of Robin Salo, Grumpy, and I'll let you go ahead and respond to what your thoughts were on that.
I thought Salah was okay today. I think Aho's better than he is right now. No crime in that. He's not, at the end of the day, I think Salah has the ability to be better than Salah. But right now, Salah brings an element that we lack, a puck-moving defenseman on the back end. You're not going to get that from Zdeno Chara or Andy Green. But for some reason, we don't want to play Aho. And here's the thing. The guys who should be getting subbed out should be the Charas and the Greens, not the Ahos and the Salos. Those are the guys who should be getting subbed in and out. The older guys.
I agree. In an ideal scenario, when Pulak is back healthy, I want to see Chara on the bench, and I'd rather see Robin Salo or Aho in the game. I think, I mean, we've all seen it. We've said it. Chara's cashed. I mean, Green didn't look great last game. Didn't look great tonight either. But, it's about giving these younger guys a chance. They have more coachable mistakes than physical limitations on the ice. The older guys are more just their physical limitations are what drives the poor play. When you have a coachable mistake, ideally you can improve on that. Maybe you don't improve on it all in one time period, all in one season, but you can improve on those coachable mistakes. So I had no issue at all with Robin Salo being subbed on for Sebastian Aho. In reality, I think Aho and Salo should both be playing over Chara.
Yes. And Green. If you want to rotate all four, I have no problem with that. None at all. But there's no way that Zdeno Chara and Andy Green should be automatics in the lineup every day. That should never happen.
Dan L. also saying here, Wallstrom has looked so much better defensively too. It isn't like he's just putting up points and playing no defense. And that's the thing that is just making me question why he's only playing 10 minutes of ice time a night.
Right. Like I said, it's Barry being Barry.
Drew L. saying here, Parise became Nate Thompson tonight with a wide open empty net miss.
It was terrible. Like I said, I'm yelling, oh, he's going to have a 2-goal. He missed the net. I thought for certain he had a 2-goal night. Missed the net.
Michael T., I don't know if they have a compilation put together of all the misses of the empty nets, but man, oh man, yeah, Zach Parise's empty net miss was bad. I'll tell you.
We didn't get to I'm sorry, TJ. We did not get to listen to Barry's press conference after the game, but I wonder if anyone asked him the question, what do you think about all these selfish players trying for empty net goals behind the red line, behind the center ice line,
or shooting all these attempts to score on an empty netter from your own zone instead of skating, right? Instead of skating it to maybe the midway point or even the opponent's blue line, at least to put those on. But no, nobody's going to ask that. They're going to say, how does it feel to win your first game at UBS Arena? How does it, they're going to go through the litany of questions, Grumpy.
And if a young guy does that, he sits. These guys were out there for 4 minutes just throwing wild shots from either inside their own zone. In Josh Bailey's case, of course, it was so weak it bounced off of somebody's leg. Anders Lee, Brock Nelson, Parise, Palmieri. I'm like, what the hell, fellas? Skate and dump it in if you have to. You got a 2-goal lead. I
Well,
mean,
I want to show you this, and thanks so much here. I want to make sure I get it right here. Oops. Thanks so much, Nick. I appreciate you sending this to us. But speaking about Oliver Wahlstrom's points per 60 minutes in the last 5 games, right? You talk about red hot, leads the NHL in points per 60 minutes and still only plays 10 minutes of ice time a night. It's not like, hey, we're looking at 1 game, looking at 2 games. It's over a 5-game span. And the guy's been putting up points in droves. And I would even argue, I think even outside of this time period, he still puts up a lot of points per 60 minutes, even when you're not just saying I'm looking at only the last 5 games. The guy's been playing well. It's mind-boggling. Look at the names. Look at the names he's on with this list. Blake Wheeler, Jonathan Huberdeau, Artemi Panarin, Kirill Kaprizov, Max Pacioretty, and Brady Tkachuk.
it's pretty heady company, right?
These are all fantastic players, and these are all NHL All-Stars. This is the company he's with right now. How many more games in a row does he have to average this many points until he gets more ice time?
And he can't even get a regular shift with the team that averages, what, 2-point-something goals a game. He can't even get a regular shift. Think about that. Honestly, that's a fireable offense.
Okay, it's not. I won't go that.
He's not going anywhere. His thing. But if it was another coach, Joe Montadots, that's a fireable offense. He's Barry Trotz, so he gets away with it.
Yeah, that's right, Grumpy. Ashim K says, Sonic provides speed, which is what we need also.
We're slow. We are a painfully slow team.
And young guys get no respect from Barry. That's for certain.
True.
And yeah, James F. said, guys, I didn't know it was J.P. Parise's 80th birthday today.
Would have been 80 today. He was the guy who scored the first overtime playoff goal against the Rangers, which set us on our way in our first playoff year.
People are giving you 100% right, Grumpy. Now, we're going to shift gears here a little bit, guys. Now, this is going to be something we're going to build towards. This is going to be something that is important for us to talk about, that if you don't have Twitter, you may not have seen. So Anatoly Golishev, ladies and gentlemen, he had an interview since he's gone back there to the KHL, and they were asking him about his time with the New York Islanders. Well, let me put it to you like this. It was not in a very rosy picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen. Let me pull this up here. And
why don't you read? If you make it big enough, you could read the interview parts, and I could read the Golishev parts.
Okay, it's never going to get big enough, Grumpy. As you can see, it's a pretty small portion. I'm going to have to zoom in on my phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read it to you. But here's the source. It's KHL Talk. And people have been questioning if this is a legitimate source or not. Did Golishev really say these things? I think he did. And we'll bring up the reasoning why we believe he said this. So this was with Russian forward Anatoly Golishev, and it was recorded on Sports Express and translated by KHL Talk. They said, if I know before the season you decreased your financial demands with the Islanders, to guarantee the Islanders would not assign you to the AHL. At the end of the day, you play just for Bridgeport, the AHL. How could that happen? So Golishev, from this conversation, apparently the interview knew he decreased what he was asking for in a salary so he could ensure a spot at the NHL. Look at this, right? A guy over here saying, I'm willing to take less money so I can get a chance to prove myself at the NHL level.
And if he would have talked to me, I would have said, watch out, buddy. They're never going to play you. Not happening.
Well, he doesn't listen to the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man podcast, as obvious.
That's a mistake. There's his first mistake.
It is a mistake. Golishev responded, I will begin with the words that I knew that I need to do my best to earn my NHL spot, my NHL roster spot. The Islanders were good in the previous 2 seasons, making the conference finals, but the Islanders general manager, Lou Lamoriello, said to me during contract negotiations that he sees me on the NHL team, that I will play a lot. As a proof of his seriousness, he proposed to me a one-way contract. Yes, the salary was lower, but in such a moment, the money is the last thing that you think of. I moved here to try to fulfill my dream. So contract negotiation, right? I'm going to give you a one-way contract because we really want you to be up there with the NHL roster. So they asked him, when did the problem begin? When did you realize that there were problems beginning? He said, It was a problem. I never realized it. I had a great training camp, all saying good and positive words about me, and they liked my skill and my work effort. Yes, I felt great, but they assigned me to the AHL before the season opener. And again, they promised me that I will be in Bridgeport for a short time period and that I will play there for only a couple of games, and the Islanders will immediately call me back. They said, you need to work on your game. And I believe them.
Yeah. Well, we've heard that before. Josh Ho-Sang, Kiefer Bellows.
Well, I'm painting the picture, and I want you guys to see. We talk about this all the time. Do you believe this is rational? Do you believe this is possible? Because that's all we're testing here with this. And then they asked him, and then what? They fed me with such promises all the time, while the reality was totally different from the words that they were saying to me. For example, I did not play on the first line in Bridgeport for some reason. Instead, they played me on the third and fourth line. My ice time was too low. I didn't play on neither the power play or the penalty kill. I did not understand such behavior if the Islanders kept promising me that I was the first man up for the call up. So here he is. They're saying, Lou Lamoriello, you're first guy in for the call up. We want you up here in the NHL. And so you need to work on a few things down there in Bridgeport, but they're saying all positive and rosy things about him in training camp. And when he gets to Bridgeport, they assign him to the third and fourth line without playing power play or penalty kill.
Let me ask you a question. If you have a goal scorer, why would you play them on the third and fourth line as opposed to the top six forwards? Why would you do that?
It's almost like we've done that with another player in our organization in the past, but we'll wait. We'll wait to set that.
And we're also doing it with a player on the current roster right now. Same thing.
His name rhymes with Oliver Wahlstrom. Oh, wait a second.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no. I didn't mean to leak that one out. And then they asked him an additional question. They said it had to be unbelievable. He said, in some of the games for Bridgeport, I spent around 3 to 4 shifts per period on the ice. That's fine. Formally, I was on the second line power play. But you know how it kind of works out. You get 10 or 15 seconds on the ice, and it's impossible to showcase your skills with such low ice time.
Oh, who's been saying that for years?
No, Grumpy, you're crazy. How many Stanley Cups have you won? 0. You could never understand what another human and a player could possibly feel when they don't feel like they're getting a legitimate shot. How dare you try to put yourself in their shoes, Grump? We're continuing now. So they promised you something while doing the exact opposite. How did you feel was the question. I kept doing my best. I kept working hard. I felt bad, but I tried not to think about it. Plus, I communicated with the club's legends. They talked to me and they told me to keep working hard to overcome this hard period. And then the reporter asks again, I see it's difficult when the club cheats on you. And then Anatoly Goloshev responds, even then, I didn't give up. I opened my eyes and realized all the nuances just recently. Like you heard about the Islanders' problem with players in the COVID protocol, was what he says. Interviewer says, of course I heard. Anatoly Goloshev responds, they started to call up players from the AHL, and it happened. I wasn't the first name, not even the second name on their call-up list. They called me up as a third player. That's fine, I thought. After my early trainings with the Islanders, all kept going in the way of my NHL debut against the Rangers. The morning skate, everything was fine. I relaxed in the afternoon, and I get to the arena in the evening to prepare for the match. While I was preparing myself for a game, I looked at the table with the roster for the game. My name was not on the list. I thought it had to be a mistake because my jersey was in the locker room. So I asked Ilya Sorokin, what's going on? They both speak Russian. He was even more surprised than myself. Our coach came to the locker room and told me that I'm not dressing for tonight's game.
Why not?
And then what he responds and he says, try to understand my feelings. I watched the game from the press box and the team lost its 8th game in a row. At that evening, I had another conversation with the general manager. And he said, did you have any complaints of your game? Did the general manager have any complaints on your game? He told me that it was exclusively coach's decision not to skate me at the Rangers game. And I shouldn't take it that way as a normal practice. He told me once again that they want me in the NHL roster and that I will play a lot in the NHL. He said that I need to be patient. You know what it sounds like? And we'll get back to what reading. It sounds like a person who's been busting. Oh, it's a little different, but like a guy who works for a company for a long time and busts his ass. And the boss always says, "Hey, man, you're doing a great job, Johnny. You're doing a great job. That bonus is coming. As soon as we get more into payroll, we're going to go ahead and give you that raise." And they string him along like that for 10 years. That's what Lou Lamoriello sounds like he's doing, like stringing the guy along saying, "We believe in you. This is what's going to happen." But in reality, there's no shot of that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And to me, I'm going to tell you again, Anatoly Golishev had zero chance of ever playing for Barry Trotz. He was never. I said that when they signed him. I'm like, why are they even wasting their time? He doesn't fit the Barry Trotz mold because he doesn't play defense. And I told you, even when they got called up, I said, he's never going to play. Never. Never freaking ever. And the kid just should have talked to me before he signed a contract with the Islanders. I'm like, dude, that guy Trotz is never going to play you. Are you 40 years old? Do you not have any offensive skill? Do you just hang back? Do you glad hand with the veterans? That's the only way you have a shot to play on this team. You're never going to make it, kid.
There's a few more lines at the interview, and we'll get back to it. And then the reporter asks, "Fine, then what?" Talking about how it was exclusively the coach's decision. And immediately after the conversation, they called up another guy from the AHL. So I was not third on the list anymore, but fourth. To be fair, post factum, I realized that they called up the fifth forward from the NHL, and at that moment, I got everything. I realized it, and then they asked, elaborate a little more. He said, "Yeah, the negative signals occurred even earlier for me, but I didn't notice them at the time. For example, my time in Bridgeport. When the NHL club sent down a player who they will call back up immediately, he's playing a lot of minutes in the AHL. All the AHL team is built around that player. These players almost never leave the ice. But in my case, it was the opposite. For example, I didn't make a list of the older players who had the privilege to play, or I was put in just 2 of the 3 games in a week. I have never adapted to the scheduling when you train 5 days, and at the end of the day, you're not even brought in to be able to play." At the moment, in AHL Bridgeport, they suddenly asked me if I'd ever played on the power play or the penalty kill while playing in Russia.
Astounding.
Then I asked myself, how could you even ask me such a question if you say that you followed my career in Russia? So I replied, of course, I can play in both situations, power play and penalty killing. I've had experience. So they put me on the first power play line, and I scored. And then I was on the third line again. Holy shit, guys. Holy shit. It sounds like a freaking nightmare. Here's the thing. The guy was never going to be a difference maker for us. But we always have asked ourselves on this show specifically, what does it feel like to be the player? And everybody looks at us and says, shut the hell up. Just talk about what's on the ice. Talk about Barry Trotz, man. Oh, Barry, don't worry about this. Barry Trotz produces winners. Don't worry about how the player feels. Oh,
he's never produced a winner in his life. He's never produced a winner in his life, ever. Those were the guys who won for him were finished products when he got a hold of them.
Barry wins games, remember. That's all we heard. Barry wins games.
He does. He wins regular season
Barry's been in back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. He knows what he's doing. All the players greatly respect him.
Yeah, now, I believe that.
After what we read, and I'm sure they do, after what we read, could you see players sharing that emotion in that situation? I don't think Anatoly Golishev has any reason to lie. Why the hell would he have any reason to lie? He could just say, no, I didn't like my time there. I wanted to go back home. I wanted to go back home with my wife. I want to bring my wife back home, my kid back home. I want to be in Russia. I don't want to be here anymore. I wanted to play in the NHL. Didn't happen. I'm focused on playing back in the KHL. Very easily just could have skirted the question if he had no issue. Sounds like he was screwed and he didn't like it. And he was sold on the idea that he was going to receive time in the NHL and was never given that chance and opportunity. Now, it's funny. You look at Andrew Ladd. Andrew Ladd, very nicely, when he was traded to the Arizona Coyotes, again, he said it in a very nice manner, said, yeah, I kind of felt like I had no chance and opportunity. And again, I don't think Andrew Ladd was the greatest player on ice, but he said, at the time
period, better than Leo Komarov.
Yeah, better than Leo Komarov. He said, I just felt like I never had an opportunity. I felt like I never had an opportunity. No matter what I did, I would never be called up again. So we hear that from Andrew Ladd. We hear this here from Anatoly Golishev. We hear that from Josh Hosang in a sense. And, I wonder what a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom thinks. What do you think they're telling Oliver Wahlstrom, guys? Let's play this scenario. If Lou Lamoriello, because I guarantee you, right, Anatoly Golyshev wanted more ice time, wanted more time up there, wanted to play in the NHL. I'm sure Oliver Wahlstrom wants more ice time. He's scoring goals and he's producing offense, which is something this team desperately needs. I'm sure Oliver Wahlstrom wants more ice time. What line of bullshit do you think they're feeding Oliver Wahlstrom? Man, keep plugging away. You're doing a great job on that third line. You're going to be called up to the top 6 in no time at all. You're doing a great job. And again, like stuff like that, trust me, players do not forget shit like that. They do not. If they do, they're much better people than I. Because when I used to have shit like that happen to me, I used to hate. I carried a vendetta 5, 10, 15 years down the road with those type of coaches. And those type
How
of
long? How many years?
5, 10, 15 years. I'll still hold a grudge at that shit. Players do not forget stuff like that. I promise you they do not. So, and I know that, hey, Lou's got a fantastic this. He's got a great reputation. It means either one or three things have happened in this scenario. It either means Lou and Barry are not on the same page, that Lou was either just stringing him along and never had any intention on playing him and just wanted him as a depth piece and was lying to Anatoly Golyshev, or Anatoly Golyshev is lying. It's either one of those three things. I'm not sure why Anatoly Golyshev is lying. I don't know why he would lie. Maybe Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello on a different page. I think that is there. That's definitely a possibility. Or he's just stringing the kid along. I think those are probably your two highest likelihoods.
Here's my biggest concern. Big picture for the Islanders, right? A big picture guy. You're going to hear it here first. Players talk. Players talk around the league. You think Andrew Ladd is painting a picture of his time on Long Island as being great when he was not given a shot to play for the last 2 years because he wasn't one of Barry's boys? Do you think Josh Hosang, after the article that he gave when he went to the Toronto Marlies and say what a great organization they have and how they treat you right as a person, do you think he's saying flowery epitaphs for the New York Islanders? Nope. Do you think Anatoly Golyshev, if the Islanders ever draft a Russian and they ask him, hey, what was your experience there? Do you think he's going to say, oh, yeah, it was a great experience? Nope.
Yeah. So do you ever think, again, because he plays in the KHL, all those draft eligible guys in the KHL all talk. Do you think if they draft a guy from the KHL, let's say he's a tweener, right? I'm considering whether I'm coming over. Sorokin, I'm sure, will speak kindly of his time with the Islanders. Do I think Anatoly Golyshev will?
Well,
probably not.
No, I think he's not going to. Remember, he had troublesome dealings with the Islanders too before Lamoriello and Trotz came in, right? So I'm going to tell you what, and we see one of the guys who, I'm sure he bonded with being a Russian, see him getting screwed like he used to get screwed. I'm sure he's not going to give flowery returns either. But here's the thing. What does it mean? It means if you're a free agent and you're considering coming here, and I'm not saying a big free agent because we don't get any of those, not a one. But if you're a marginal free agent who's not part of the Lou or Barry pipeline, do you think you're going to play? Or are you going to say, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere else where I actually have a chance to play in the NHL. I'm not going to go there to ride the bench in Bridgeport. I mean, I just find it interesting. And we always had that discussion with Hosang. Why the hell is he playing on the third and fourth line in Bridgeport? He's a goal scorer. He's a top 6 forward. Why would you not put him where he has best chance to succeed? And the same thing with Golyshev. This is not a surprise to me, honestly. And I just think it speaks very poorly of the Islanders, honestly. And going forward, I'm going to say it again. Players talk to one another. That you're guaranteed of. And I just think if they say, do you want to go to the Island? Nope. I'm not going there because I'm not going to get a real shot to play. That's what I think is going to really happen.
And I'm not saying that you should, and don't paint this as a way of, grumpy old man and teacher is saying that we should play, we should just play players to keep them happy. Now, that's not all what we're saying. I'm saying, though, if you're going to tell somebody one thing, you should try to honor that. I mean, that's the type of thing that could really piss a player off. And a guy like Golyshev, think about it. We had everybody said this is essentially our AHL team. It's our AHL affiliate out there on the ice, guys. We had so many guys out with COVID. This is our AHL affiliate. and Anatoly Goloshev could not be given the chance. And I think Barry Trotz's words were, we don't feel like he can, do it yet at the NHL level. We're just not sure, even though he was never given a chance. We're unsure if he could do it at the NHL level. Yeah, I would have packed my bags that evening and said, "Yeah, deuces. I'm not gonna." And I would carry a chip with me on with how I got screwed over. So maybe it's that Lou and Barry aren't seeing eye to eye on some of the players that are given a chance and an opportunity. Maybe Lou said, "Oh shit, we've got how many guys out with COVID? Yeah, Golashev's definitely going to play." And maybe he was shocked that Barry Trotz didn't start him. I don't know.
Now, are we allowed to give some information that we heard?
What does that
That
mean?
we heard something from someone that is not verified, but something that someone heard,
Shh. I don't know what you're talking about, Grumpy.
that Barry and Lou are not on the same page right now.
Yeah, we're not going to say who we received the source from, but
Okay.
yes, we did hear that from again a guy I trust and guy we trust that Barry and Lou are not on the same page at the moment. It wouldn't shock me at all, but that's why I presented that as an opportunity option. I presented all three options. Right, means either Anatoly Goloshev is lying. It means either Lou Lamoriello was stringing along Goloshev and lying to him all along, or that Barry and Lou are not on the same picture. Those are the three items that it could be. I don't think it's that Goloshev is lying. I don't know why he'd have a reason to lie about this.
No, no,
It'd be
no
so,
reason.
and to come up with something as, think about it, to come up with something as specific as they asked me if I played the power play and shorthanded. They asked me if I did that in Russia, right? I don't know why he would lie about them asking him a fictitious question like that. It would have to be maybe he was dreaming about it every night. Those don't sound like questions that he would just dream up of on the moment during an interview.
Yeah, why I'm saying that he's not lying is now you've had three players on the record, about how they were treated, how it was like a caste system for the New York Islanders. And I
Does
mean,
Oliver Wahlstrom feel the same way now, guys? Oliver
does Kiefer Bellows feel the same way? Does Sebastian Aho? Does Robin Salo?
Does Robin Salo feel the same way? Because book this, put it down here, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, Sebastian Aho has to clear waivers if he's sent down to the AHL. When Ryan Pulock is back, do you think we're going to do one or two things? Do you think we're going to send down Sebastian Aho, or do you think we're going to send down Robin Salo? Because one of those guys will have to go down. Do
It'll
you
be
think Barry
Salo.
Trotz and Lou Lamoriello are going to send the guy down that could possibly have the chance of being claimed up on waivers? Or do you think do you think they're going to send down the guy who could be sent through waivers without, or sent down to the Bridgeport without having to go through waivers? I think it's going to be Salo. They don't have to worry about him being claimed up off of waivers. They want to keep that depth in the defensive system. If you lose Aho, then you only have Salo if any injuries amass in a crew.
It's just like the same question that I broached 2 years ago when Matt Barzell was getting treated like crap for making a mistake and the veterans, no repercussions to their actions. Do you think that he resents Barry Trotz for that? I mean, I think you do. You can't help but do that as a person. You can't help feel that way when you see somebody getting treated better than you when they're doing worse than you are, or the egregious actions that are worse for somebody else, and they're not getting called out, and you're getting, having your feet held to the fire for it. I mean, and now, TJ, I'm going to ask you a question. I think the worst thing you can do to a player as a coach or a GM is lie to them.
Do not lie to a player. That's 100% right. Be honest. I don't think that I would like to think that Barry doesn't lie. So I just think that this is miscommunication and Lou and Barry not being on the same page. I don't think that Barry would openly lie. It is odd when you paint the picture, right? He was in morning skate. He had his jersey there. They were planning on playing him. Then Barry Trotz just at the drop of a hat said, "No, we're not going to play. We're not going to play you tonight." That is kind of, that situation is odd. I mean, again, it is what happened. So, you just kind of think to yourself, is he lying, or is he just kind of like, it was a real game time decision? I want to give Barry the benefit of the doubt on that. I really just think it's Lou and Barry having two different ideologies, and they're maybe butting heads a little bit.
Well, so that leads
that would never come public, though.
Well, that would lead once again to what I've been saying for the last month. Lou and Barry have to have a heart-to-heart when the season's over. And Lou needs to lay the law down and say, "You're going to follow this or not? Because this is what I want to have happen. If you're not the man for it, we're saying goodbye." And I have no problem with that, because if he's not willing to bend at all, see you later. I mean, everything doesn't fit into your little mold of failure, Barry.
Oh, man, Grumpy. I wouldn't go that deep.
I would. If you're not winning the Stanley Cup, you're a failure.
Okay. Um,
When
but
you're not
I thought
developing the younger players, you're a failure.
I'll ask you this too. We asked, how do you think Robin Salo is going to feel? What do you think they told Robin Salo when he came over from Finland? Hey, Robin, we feel like you are going to be up in the NHL. You're going to be a bona fide top four defenseman. You've got the skill set. You can headman the puck. You know, we're going to get Chara as a stopgap guy, but we envision you to be our Nick Leddy, right? You can move the puck well. You skate well. We envision you to play a top four role going forward in the future.
The
But we're going to
dip,
need you. You played well in training camp. We're going to need you to go down there in Bridgeport. He was lighting the world on fire in Bridgeport. He gets a chance up there, plays 4 games, then sits for the next 5 or 6. And then when Ryan Pulak comes back, we all know he's going to be sent down to Bridgeport. How do they try to explain that to him? Or do we see Robin Salo heading back to Finland on unconditional waivers?
the difference is Robin Salo was playing first pairing minutes, a lot of minutes in Bridgeport. That's the difference between him and Golashev.
I'm just saying, could you imagine how I promise you they told Salo, you're going to be a top 4 guy. We want you to be a top 4 defenseman. We want you playing in the NHL long term. And how do you think it? Maybe it won't be as egregious as what happened to Golashev, but how do you think it makes? Because he's performed. Robin, it's not like Robin Salo has not been performing. How do
I
you
don't
think it's
think
going to
he's
make
been
Robin Salo feel when he's going to be sent back down to Bridgeport again?
I don't think he's been great since he's been up. He's gotten a lot of ice time, undeserved ice time, in my opinion, compared to Noah Dobson. Uh, and I just don't understand that. I really don't. Noah Dobson's a better defenseman than Robin Salo. It's not even close, honestly. And for Salo to get more minutes than Dobson is another thing. It's like I'm just scratching my head. But just to get one thing about the lying to the player thing, I think the players look at it like, you know what, you're messing with my livelihood with these arbitrary decisions. When I know I'm better than somebody who's playing for you, I know I'm performing better than them, I'm a better player, and I'm not playing. Why do I want to play for your organization? Those careers are finite. You can't waste years and years in the minors. You think Devon Taves is happier in Colorado than he ever was here? I'm going to guarantee you he was.
The answer is yes to that one. I mean, Robin, oh, Jesus, man. I mean, Devon Taves is lighting the scoreboard up again. 19 points in 15 games played. I mean, he's killing it.
20
I'm
points
sorry,
in
20.
15
I'm sorry,
games.
20 points in 15 games played as a plus 19.
Playing
We gave this
24
guy
and a half
away for
minutes a game. Playing 24 and a half minutes a game.
24 minutes and 40 seconds a game. But yeah, we gave this guy away for 2 second-round picks.
Yeah, well,
We just like to go ahead and bring that up. We were one of the minority, as soon as it happened, to say, what a bad, dumb move. Everybody else said, no, we need to clear cap space. This is fantastic. Nick Leddy's great. Nick Leddy was the second best player by a country mile in that Eastern Conference Finals against Tampa the first time we played him. We needed to keep Nick Leddy. We said, what the hell are they thinking? And yeah, Devon Taves had a bad Eastern Conference Finals. First time being there. Guess what? Devon Taves is a real freaking deal, and we'll be regretting giving him away for 2 second-round picks for the rest of eternity, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, okay. He wasn't Nick Leddy was bad too in that Stanley Cup, that conference final. He was bad too. I mean, I didn't think Devon Taves was perfect. No, he was not. But he was a young guy. It was his first year up in the league, second year up in the league. He wasn't a veteran. They're going to be growing pains. There just are. But you never ever give up the younger guy with the ceiling as high as Devon Taves for a 29-year-old Nick Leddy. You never do that. You always keep the younger guy with the cheaper contract. Just dumb. Just another failure on Lou Lamoriello's part.
I want to go ahead and show a few images, grumpy old man. And there's a comment because
I
we
like
have
images.
the Trotz comment about Wallstrom forcing his hand. And thank you, John Smith, for leaving that. We'll make sure we pop that up. But I figured this maybe put a little smile on your face. The New York Islanders sacred cows. This is from George Pace here. Look at this. We've got Josh Bailey, we've got Kyle Palmieri, and we've got Zdeno Chara, Big Z. All underperformers. Part of
There could be many more on there too.
Guess what? Until tonight, you could have put Anthony Beauvillier on that list. Anthony Beauvillier deserved to sit due to poor performance, but
No, Anthony Beauvillier was never on that list. Never. He's the one regular that he could bench because he can't bench Barzell anymore. Can't do it. He's bench proof now. But the only other guy who was younger besides Wallstrom or Bellows doesn't count. He's barely a player as far as Barry Trotz is concerned. Is Beauvillier.
well, we've got here.
What about Parise? Why isn't he on that list?
He scored his first goal tonight. That should buy him another
Whoop-de-doo.
games. Well, grumpy old man, I want to show you. We talked about the merchandise store, ladies and gentlemen. The merch is out. And we got a picture here from Scott L. supporting and wearing around his Maddie in the Jags shirt, grumpy old man. Would you look at
Nice.
this? Let me zoom in. Look at that. Maddie in the Jags, grumpy old man. Looking from Scott L.
Maddie and the Jags.
Maddie in the Jags. It looks like a nice shirt there, Scott L. Thanks there for supporting
Yes,
the
thank
podcast.
you so much, Scat. Thank you
Scat.
so much, Scott. And
Yeah.
he's still got the best picture. The
Mhm.
best picture bar none.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, you could find the link to the merchandise store and link in the description below. That being said, if you have purchased merchandise, when you start getting them, I want to see pictures when you're wearing them. Send them in. I'll show them. I want to see how it looks. I want to see the Islanders Never Say Die Nation out here. John Smith said about Trotz on if Wallstrom is forcing his hand to play with more ice time. John Smith and Trotz responds here. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. He's playing a straight line game using people. Awareness is getting better. His head is up. We have good players not playing. Wally has got to continue to produce. So that means he will have to continue to produce. That means that he's entertaining the idea, but
No, he's not.
Wallstrom stringing together 5 games where he is averaging the most points per 60 minutes is not enough. He needs to string together 10 or maybe 20 games like that, only playing 10 minutes a night, where he's putting up 1 or 2 goals, 1 or 2 points a game.
Now, that's for the season. Those points per 60
It was over the last 5. It was over the last 5 games.
I don't believe so.
It was the last 5 games. But his points per 60 minutes over the season's good too. But the one I had pulled up where he was averaging 7 point some odd points a game, higher than anybody else in the league, that was over the last 5 games.
Okay, let me decipher what Barry actually said. Yeah, sure. He's playing a straight line game, using people, awareness getting better. We have good players not playing. That's true. You have a lot of good players not playing. The thing is, you have shitty players who are playing. That's the biggest issue. You have so much garbage, old garbage on this roster that plays every night. That's the issue. It's not Wallstrom or the guys who have performed who aren't playing. It's the pieces of shit that Barry Trotz rolls out there every single night who do absolutely nothing. Bailey, Parise, Palmieri, Lee, just the list, the whole freaking fourth line. Nothing. And this guy's gonna have his ice time limited. Yep. Smart move, Barry. Smart move.
And just show you, Grumpy, he's averaging over the last 5 games, 7.97 points per 60 minutes. Most in the NHL.
Okay. I just think for the season, I think he was
the season, he's like still top 10. He's crazy.
I thought he was second behind the guy in Florida.
I have to pull it up.
What's his name? Anthony Duclair.
Duclair.
And they play in an offensive system. So Wallstrom's is even more impressive because we play for this dirge-like offense.
No, it's not. Okay, I'm looking all time. I'll have to get specific with the Grumpy.
Yeah,
I'll try to get it pulled up. But got a comment here from Joel saying, I mean, does Barry like Cougars? Because my goodness, his biasness towards the old farts is unreal.
He likes gilfs.
Gills. Stephen V saying, yeah, John Cooper would know exactly what to do with Oliver Wallstrom on his lineup.
You got that right. He'd be playing on the first line. He'd be playing on the first line with the guy who could feed him the puck. That's what he'd be doing.
And I 100% agree, Dan. He is playing a great two-way game, Oliver Wallstrom. Anthony R. says, Bellows needs to stay in the lineup. He's playing better than I think the Islanders thought. Bavilier needs to replace Bailey. Palmieri needs to go to the third line. Oliver Wallstrom needs to move to the second line, but Trotz won't do it.
Nope. And here's the thing. He's playing better than the Islanders thought. Here's the thing. They've never given him a legit shot until right now because of all the injuries and the COVID. That's the only reason he's getting a chance. And he has proven himself that he should be in the lineup all the time. But as soon as Bavilier, you watch, maybe Tuesday. Is that our next game? Is it Tuesday?
Give me a sec. I'm going to pull for our next game. I'll have to pull it up. I don't know the next game off the top of my head.
Okay, it doesn't matter when it is. The next game, you're going to see Bavilier back in the lineup and Kiefer Bellows on the bench. That's what mark my words.
Next game is Tuesday, and we're going to be going live during that game too. That is going to be at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. But we'll be going live during next Tuesday's game against the Detroit Red Wings.
Okay. So that's my prediction on that. You're going to see Bavilier replace Bellows. He's the odd man out. He's not going to sit Parise, not going to sit Bailey. It's going to be Bellows.
Nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. That's Barry Trotz. He's a creature of habit.
We have
That's why he's so easy to beat in the playoffs, because he just sticks with pattern. Those guys are easy to defeat. Very easy to defeat.
I'm just saying it is so odd to think about a guy who performs so, and you talk about guys who haven't performed. I mean, Josh Bailey has not performed this
Half
year.
the freaking roster hasn't performed this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Grumpy old man.
But you're not going to see Bavelier set a number of games out. I don't know how he can justify. That's why I think he put Bailey out there at the end. Josh, please score so I can keep you in the lineup. I know you do nothing on the ice, absolutely nothing, but please put one in the net so I can say, well, look at Josh Bailey. He scored a goal. He had assist. Yeah, I know it was one of those Josh Bailey assists, but they all count the same. I think they should take away the secondary assist.
So
Josh Bailey would have 25 points in his whole career.
Just to give you, Oliver Wahlstrom is not as high as you think in points per 60 minutes on ice time. The highest Islander or Islander who was up there was Zarnak, but he's no longer there. Grumpy old man. Look at us. We're pulling up some of the stats. I want you to think about this. You've got Oliver Wahlstrom, who is buried in between. I'll read some of the names that are in the area. Thomas Hertel, John Carlson, Mark Scheifele, Alex Goligoski, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Patrick Hornquist. You've got some good names and company up there. And Ben,
where's Josh Bailey? Where does Josh Bailey fall in between?
Oh God, almighty Grumpy, this is gonna be bad.
I mean, I don't know if you have that like a super scroll function to get to the bottom of the list.
You'll be happy to know Josh Bailey is slightly above Philip Tomasino for points produced in every 60 minutes. The underproducing Philip Tomasino,
a rookie.
Who
gets limited ice time.
Rookie member of the faded and fabled Three Amigos.
So already one of the Three Amigos is better than Josh Bailey. Great. How perfect. How perfect. I mean, I realize it doesn't take much, but still, how perfect. How perfect that Josh Bailey 2.0, Philip Tomasino in his rookie year is better than him. Oh, perfect.
That being said, ladies and gents, we do have an ad to read today from, you know who it's from, Grumpy?
DraftKings, I bet.
From DraftKings, that's 100% right. Football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on all the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN and bet just $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with the promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You must be 21 years or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum of a $5 deposit and a $1 wager is required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, TJ. That's why we missed the Parisi goal, because you insisted on doing it during a TV timeout as opposed to doing it at an intermission.
Sal P saying, Barry says the sacred cows must play.
True.
Anthony R said, this still won't be enough for the playoffs, but I want to see some of the young guys play the rest of the season. Salo too.
Me too. I want to see the young guys play. Here's the thing. The young guys are more exciting to watch. They have potential to get better. The old guys don't. That's what I want to see. I want to see the young guys play. They don't hurt us.
Dan L saying Green and Chara are an ideal 6th and 7th defenseman. Having them both play regularly is a major issue, and having them both on the ice at the same time is even more mystifying than that. I think to myself, what's worse than one 44-year-old defenseman who can't skate and is immobile adding a 37 or
Two of them.
38-year-old immobile defenseman. I mean, did you see the goal
He's
that
39.
39? I'm sorry, get too young. I brand him as too young. Did you see the goal where Varlamov led in a weekie on, I believe it was Thursday evening, and Green just got walked around. He just got skated around. It's like he was moving in suspended animation. Grumpy old man is the term you
I
like
mean,
to use for it.
and I'm not going to slam Andy Green for that. That's not Andy Green's fault. It's
No, it
Lou
wasn't Andy
Lamoriello.
Green's fault. I'm just saying that I'm just to speak about how little skating that Andy Green could still do. He's not a great skater anymore.
And he's still like Eric Hayden out there compared to Zdeno Chara. Do you know what Eric Hayden is, TJ?
I don't know. I was going to say, is that like Jekyll and Hyde?
No, no. He won 5 speed skating gold medals in the 1988 Olympics, I believe it was.
I know Mark Apollo.
His name was what? His name was Mark.
Apollo. What's his name? First name? Something Apollo, right?
It's Apollo is his first name.
I thought his last name was Apollo.
No, his name was Apollo Ono. Ono was his last name.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I tried, Grumpy.
Yeah. No.
What can I say?
I'm just looking at Dan's picture, and I'm assuming that that's Dan and a baby of his, and the baby is thinking. He's thinking about what Barry Trotz is doing with the lineup. He's just putting his head down.
He already knows at a young age. He or she knows at a young age.
Yes.
That my God Almighty, Barry Trotz is as easy as hockey 101. Drew says, I think Barry should have a scheduled one-on-one.
I think so too.
That's not going to happen. And Michael T said, we should pump Chara full of HGH and see if he gets caught or not. PEDs or HGH.
Now just think about this. Chara spent 17 minutes in the penalty box today and still got 14 minutes of ice time. Think about that. So what's he going to get? 20?
Nuts.
If they play, he's going to get 20 if he doesn't get those penalties.
Hold on a second.
Think about the ice time he gets with all the penalties.
I'm trying to add this up on my head. He sat out. I think it was more than 17 minutes of ice time and penalties, grumpy old man. Because remember, he sat out, I think, everything but like 3 or 4 minutes in the first period, and then he was sitting out again through the majority of the second period too. I think he was closer to 20 minutes in penalties tonight. 20 minutes off the ice.
All I know is he probably would have played over 20 minutes. He would have had 20 minutes of ice time. And who do you think sits when he plays? It's going to be Noah Dobson. It's going to be Robin Salo.
Robin Salo played a lot of minutes, though. I'm sure he played. I mean, he's played a lot of minutes the last few times. I'm sure he's been playing a lot of minutes, though.
Well, today, just to let you know, it was Mayfield. Actually, Pellick was first, 24 minutes, 48 seconds. Mayfield, 23:54. Then you had Dobson, 19:46. Green, 18:57. Salo, 16:40. And Charo, 14 minutes even. But he had 17 minutes in penalties. So,
yikes!
Yeah,
that's nuts. That's nuts to think that he gets such a large leash like that. A guy who can't skate, a guy who I think he's. Yeah.
In his defense, though, it's probably time for him to get off for a shift, and it probably takes him another 30 seconds to get off. So every time he comes out and gets off, that's a minute on and off time. So that has to be factored in as well.
Matthew C. said, I wish reporters would ask, why is Bailey even playing? LOL. Why not bench him? Well, that's my point, right? I'm fine with Anthony Beauvillier sitting. I want to see Josh Bailey sit a game. I want to see, I mean, he's been hideous this season. I don't know anybody who can defend, even the people who love Josh Bailey, right? They'd come out, those Josh Bailey fans that would come out, once every 10, maybe once every 15 games where he'd have a multi-point night. Josh Bailey would score 2 goals and have 2 assists. He'd be like, Josh Bailey, where are all the Josh Bailey haters at? They would come out and they'd flaunt their stuff like a peacock during mating season. Well, I'm wondering, we can't find any of those fans now because he's been playing hideously. And I wish a reporter would ask the question, Josh Bailey's been struggling a little bit on the score sheet. I know he hasn't been generating much offense. What do you suppose? What do you suggest, Barry, to get Josh Bailey going? Ask him something like that. Easy, it's not too aggressive. It's not, because here's the thing. He isn't, and I don't think that's an aggressive question. You can ask him easy as a reporter.
Or here's a question. Barry, you benched Beauvillier today for his lackluster play. Do you think the same tactic should be used for Josh Bailey, who's been invisible this season? And just see what he says.
He won't respond to your answer. He won't respond to that question. The little last portion wouldn't like it.
Yeah. How do you play Josh Invisibailey out there every night?
Stephen V said, Grumpy, if you coach the Islanders starting tomorrow, are we a playoff team? Is it a lack of player talent or bad roster selection by the coach?
It's both.
I
It's
knew you
both.
were going to say it's both, but it is both.
It is both. And no, if I was coaching, we would not make the playoffs this year. No.
Well,
But I'll tell you what, it'd be a hell of a lot more fun to watch. That much I can tell you. I'd play the young guys. That's what I would do. Josh Bailey, sit your ass on the bench. How many games you played so far? You're not playing another one for the New York Islanders. Because guess what? I don't want to see your number up in the rafters for getting a participation trophy, that's what it would be. Josh Bailey gets his number put up in the rafters because he participated. Would you rather have Dwayne Sutter or Josh Bailey? Anyone who knows who Dwayne Sutter knows. I shouldn't even say those two names in the same sentence, honestly.
I think Josh Bailey, man. Josh Bailey needs to have his number retired, grumpy old man.
No. For just showing up. That's what it would be. For just showing up. Certainly not for talent or what he did on the ice. For just showing up every day. They give those are called attendance awards.
Or participation trophies, Grump.
Participation awards. That's right.
Jeff E says JP Parise would have been 80 today. His number with the Islanders was number 12. His son Zach plays for the Islanders, wears number 11. Today is 12/11, December the 11th, and Zach hadn't scored yet this year, and the Islanders haven't won at their new arena yet. Well, tonight Zach Parise scores his first goal as an Islander, and the Islanders he puts them up 3-2 heading into the third period. I was thinking JP was in the house tonight. Yes. I'll tell you, that is an odd. That is
okay.
Thanks, Jeff, for giving us that. That's crazy to think of.
I'm not even going to use JP Parise's name in the same sentence as Josh Bailey because it's an insult to JP Parise.
But seriously,
I'm happy he scored.
Yeah.
I'm happy he scored. He said he was in the post game. He said that he was thinking about his dad, all day. And certainly when he scored. So good for him. I mean, you could tell he was excited. The guys were excited for him. I'm happy he scored. I wish he wouldn't have put that sour taste in my mouth by missing that wide open empty net at the end. You got to put that one in.
Here's the other thing. Zach Parise is a guy who does everything you like. He's a fantastic bottom six forward at this point, right? He's cheap.
He's bottom pairing guy for me. He's not third line. He doesn't produce any offense. Those guys should never play more than 9 or 10 minutes a day.
Bottom line, I wouldn't be playing him 17 minutes a night as the Islanders have done in the past. That is mystifying to me. But he's a guy who busts his ass. He works hard, doesn't have the scoring touch anymore, and is past his peak. But there's never a question of the effort. It's nice to see a guy like that score. It's nice to see the Islanders get a win too at home, Grump. Can we talk about that a little bit?
That's all I cared about was them winning today. I knew they were going to win today, though. Had to happen.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And then we got here Scott L saying here he should be sat, but he won't because Barry thinks he's a smart player, Josh Bailey.
Like I said, he's so smart. Nobody ever says he's good.
Michael T said the Oliver Wahlstrom statistics make you really want to put into question the coaching system the Islanders have at this point in time. That's what I'm saying too. And the thing is, are we crazy for thinking this? It's just me and Grumpy who are the only outliers. Does everybody say, oh no, keep trucking away, Barry, you're doing a fantastic job? He knows way more than we do. He's a hockey god. I think he's outsmarting himself a little bit on this one.
His man management skills are lacking. That's what I'll say. I think he's a really, really good hockey coach. He gets the most out of the talent he has in the regular season. But, as far as his man management skills, I think they're terrible. Terrible.
Scott L said Joe Montanats would play the
Matadats, not Montadants. It's Matadats. There's no N in there at all. Joe Matadats.
Grumpy, did you know Joe Matadats?
I sure did. Mike the Greek Melaniadis, all those guys.
Oh, yeah. Drew L saying it's confirmed the Islanders have a toxic culture.
The guys, you're not going to hear that from the guys who are playing. Now, we've heard Tommy Baffy before say that, Anders Lee was submarining Josh Hosang.
That he didn't like something he did and said, we don't want this kid in our locker room.
I mean, think about that. The fact that you let a clown like that have any power at all is just beyond my comprehension.
You gotta have a tight locker room. I understand that. And it's the reason why the Islanders are so great. But with a real strong locker room, we've always asked the question, if we had a guy who had character issues come to the locker room, could the locker room change them? Well, I always say yes because we have such a strong locker room, but I forget about that point that Tommy B brought up to us. There's no way in hell because when Josh Hosang did something, apparently it was so unforgivable that Anders Lee said, "No, get this kid out of the locker room." So, yeah,
Is that the guy you want as a leader?
I don't think Josh Hosang is going to be invited back to any Islander reunions back in the day.
No, I'm just saying, is that the guy you want as your leader?
They're rumors, so it is worth saying and taking everything with a grain of salt. But again, he's usually close connected. Mark A said, "I sat next to Oliver Wallstrom's girlfriend at the game." Now, did you ask Mark? Did you ask Ollie's girlfriend? Did you say, Why is Oliver not playing on a top 6 role?
The bigger question is, how hot was she? That's the bigger question.
Maybe who the heck knows, Grumpy?
Oh, I'm going to bet she's hot.
Well, Oliver Wallstrom's a good-looking guy too.
Oh, he's got money too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's a good-looking guy that's got money.
Okay, I could
think about Matt Barzal. Matt Barzal, I'm telling you, he could be the face of the NHL if he played in a different market and he scored a lot of points. Because I tell you, my wife tells me all the time, that guy's hot. Oh, yeah, every single girl that looks at Matt Barzal, he's very pretty. He could do a little bit of the rugged look because he gets a little bit of the grizzle, and he's got the defined cheekbones and chin and everything like that. I'm telling you, I can understand it.
I've never seen a professional athlete, well, not never, but the vast majority, it doesn't matter. They could be ugly as, road trolls, and they still have hot women with them.
Let's think of Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel's not the most beautiful man in the world. I wonder if his wife is hot.
Hey, I don't know why. Go figure it out. Doesn't take a rocket scientist, honestly.
Christ, look at Phil Kessel. God almighty. I forget. Jesus.
Where's the wife? I want to see the wife.
I'm looking at the pictures right now.
Put the two of them together.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I'll pull it up. It's I don't think she probably loves him for his personality. We don't know the situation, but Phil
she
Kessel,
probably loves him for his personality.
We talk about
there's a good picture.
Talk about male pattern baldness. You talk about like early balding.
Looks like AJ. That's that AJ?
No, stop. This is his, I believe, his wife. It's his girlfriend.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
I think he's the
Thanks for proving my point.
Okay, gracious. Anyway, Grumpy. The only player that sucked tonight was Palmieri, says Jeffy.
Yeah, I thought he was terrible today. He's not the only guy. Bailey was freaking invisible as usual. I thought Anders Lee was not good today.
Charlie and Green were great tonight. I'm not so sure.
I'm going to disagree with that one.
They were okay. I wasn't, man.
I thought Char was
better than what he usually does, but that's
not acceptable. Not acceptable. Like I said, his greatest contribution to the Islanders' cause today was getting that 17 minutes in penalty, so he didn't have to be on ice in the first period.
Char only played 14 minutes, so maybe that's why he looked great. We didn't have to see him for a full
that's right.
period.
He wasn't out there that much.
Dobson was great tonight too. I thought he played good. I thought
he stepped up. He's the one guy who's really benefited from Pulak being out. But guess what? When Pulak comes back, he's going to be back to his 14 minutes a game. That's what's going to happen because Barry can't help himself. Just can't help himself.
Michael T talking about Anatoly Golyshev. He says, "Oh no, it doesn't sound very good. If this is factual and true, we need to rebuild general manager and coach, and also put question the ownership." Oh my God, no, I don't think it's that bad. But this is you see this sometimes with organizations, players, dude. General managers and coaches could really some general managers and coaches just consistently lie to players. I don't think Barry Trotz lied. I just think seriously, it's Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello are not on the same page. And again, somebody mentioned that has some validity behind it. And I think that is 100% what this situation is. It is odd, I will say, but I feel for the players that are involved when they have the miscommunication and the people not being on the same page, because that's who it really hurts. I mean, like, it hurts the fans when we're losing games. It doesn't hurt really much of the general manager and the coach. It hurts the player. So
if you're lying to players and you're not able to get players to come to your organization, then it hurts the GM. That's what it hurts.
Yeah, Dan L said this is just plain cruel. Yeah, but I tell you, shit like that happens. It's not what we'd like to think of, but stuff like that has happened. You hear horror stories about stuff like that. Again, playing in the past, you hear stuff like this before, and it's like you don't think too kindly of the person who does stuff like that. Because all these people that you play with are your peers.
Right.
They're your friends. They're your buddies. They're your pals. Frank K said Mayfield is a shit show.
He was terrible today, and so was Pelech. They were both terrible today.
That combination is miserable. The Pelech-Mayfield combination does not work.
The thing is, neither one of them can skate worth a damn. That's the biggest issue.
I'm telling you.
They're a duplication they're a duplication. They're both a shutdown D type guy, but they don't work together. No one can clear the puck out of the zone.
We talked about this on the show. If the Islanders are out of the playoff picture, they need to trade Scott Mayfield. He's
Yep.
he's a top 4 defenseman that played really well in the playoffs last year. That's on a very, very manageable contract. I think you get a first and plus some for Scott Mayfield. I think he has been last year during the regular season, he looked pedestrian at best. And this year during the regular season, he's really struggling. He excelled in the playoffs where they allow you to hold, clutch, and grab and commit any type of infraction humanly possible, and you get away with it. And that's I think that's where Scott Mayfield's game elevates is in the playoff because you can get away with murder on the ice.
I think a first round pick, nothing more.
You
I
don't
don't
think
think
you
you.
can get anything more than dude, I would take a first round pick in a
So
heartbeat.
would I. So would I. Like all day long. We need to put more talent in our organization. The only way to do that is by trading away some of the veterans and getting some assets. And you know what? We need to steer away from the let's draft a grinder in the first round mentality that we've had in recent years, or let's use our first round pick on a grinder. Just tell me who the most talented player is, who's the best skater, who's has the most offensive upside. That's what we need in the organization. You can
Mario
teach
said,
players to play defense, but you can't teach the talent of scoring goals.
I was about to say that is 100% right, grumpy old man. I don't
Al
disagree.
Arbor said that
Yep.
about Bossy.
Mario says here, what I find amazing is that some fans out there that killed Snow and Capuano for putting Nino Niederreiter on the fourth line are now calling Anatoly Golubchev a crybaby for making the same assertions.
Well, see, that's wrong because I thought it was dumb. It was dumb to even play to Niedermeyer that season. He wasn't ready. And he's a goal scorer. Well, he was when he came up. And they killed him. They killed him. I mean, you got Cal Clutterbuck back. I mean, Cal's a good player. He's a fourth liner. And Niedermeyer's had a very successful career with Carolina. I think he's still with Carolina, isn't he?
Who's that? I'm sorry. Yeah,
Niedermeyer.
Yeah, I think he's with Carolina.
He was with Minnesota, then he was with Carolina. I don't know if he's moved on from there or not, honestly. But he's been very successful. Certainly more successful than Cal Clutterbuck.
Nino Niederreiter is still in Carolina. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Again, he's got 19 games so far this season, 12 points.
Yeah.
And he plays for Carolina. So
yeah,
take that with a grain of salt. They're a very, very good team, high octane offense. Michael T said, this all sounds very bizarre. Why would Lou and Barry do this? What's their motive or their agenda? I don't think they have a motive or agenda. And again, like I always say, like it's probably lies somewhere in the middle. I don't think that they're evil, bad guys. I think that Lou Lamoriello genuinely wanted Anatoly Golubchev to receive a shot. I think he was embellishing a bit by saying, hey, we want you playing every night because look at the roster when we entered camp. The roster was freaking filled. Right? Think about it. Go ahead.
Not with players who deserved it. It's just because that's who they say. Okay, here's the thing. What has Zach Parise done in the last year that justifies him being a starter every night where you could have given this kid a shot? He was a healthy scratch with Minnesota. That's the way they are, but it shouldn't be that way. It's not a meritocracy with the Islanders. That's the problem.
But think about it. Seriously, besides the one spot, besides the third line left wing position, there were no spots that were even questionable up for grabs or even questionably up for grabs. That was the only spot. There was no chance he was ever going to dethrone anybody on the right wing or the left wing position besides maybe a Parise. And that wasn't going to happen unless due to injury. But I don't think there's a motive or agenda. They already came into camp with everything filled out. I think Lou Lamoriello honestly probably wanted him to receive some NHL time. Barry said, no, I'm not doing that. And then there's a disconnect.
I agree with that. But you want to know why everyone's penciled in? Because you keep on signing everybody, all the old guys, to long-term deals. Yeah. That's the reason. It's not talent-based. Everything in sports should be talent-based and production-based. That's what it should be. Nothing else. It should be the ultimate meritocracy. That's what sports should be.
Jeff E said, that was me at ESPN during my 30-year career there. You're doing great, but promoted others. I was about to say, there's nothing that pisses people off more than having smoke blown up their ass, and there's nothing that drives somebody more. I was a person like that too. Like, don't lie to me and tell me, it's raining when you're pissing on me. I don't need that, and I don't want it for certain.
The saying is, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining.
Mhm. Drew L said, so basically Bridgeport is built around guys like Tanner Fritz. What a freaking joke.
Think about who the first line performers were last year. All guys in their 30s. Why? They're not part of they're not going to be anything with the organization. It's a developmental league. Barry and Lou, well, they always say, well, we don't want guys to develop in the NHL. Well, shit, if they're not going to develop in the NHL or the AHL, where the hell are they going to develop?
Do you think Anaheim's taking that approach with Trevor Zegras? And again, I'm not saying anybody's of that ilk. Do you think that's the approach that they're taking with a guy like Mo Cedar,
Everybody,
or a guy like Lucas Raymond, or a guy like Joe Velino? Again, they're in a different situation. They're a better team than we are technically right now, the Detroit Red Wings, and have beaten us as of recent. Do you think they're taking that approach with the young guys that they feel have talent and ability?
every team plays their young players. Why? Because they're cheap. They're inexpensive. You can manage your salary cap better that way. You don't have to trade assets off because you have so many veterans signed to the contract. The young guys means that you can augment your roster until they get to free agency as, for veterans who can help put you over the top. But the young guys are the lifeblood of the team. I keep saying it. We're the only organization that doesn't believe in that. Even Tampa Bay, they play a bunch of young guys on that team.
Yeah, right. You talk about, how are they able to retool so quickly? Because they said, here we go. We're going to still keep with our core, but we're going to give some of these younger guys an opportunity instead of saying, let's go. And again, Tampa's done a fantastic job of drafting. Tampa's just a whole different can of worms, though, Grump. James F said, don't worry, guys. Wallstrom will be traded. No, he won't be moved.
No, he's not going anywhere. Not now, anyway.
The kid's fantastic.
I'll just be interested to see. I think Barzal will stay, but
I do too. I don't think Barry's going to be there that long. I don't think Lou's going to be here that long. Here's the thing. Seriously, if we miss the playoffs this year, what additions besides, seriously, what can we do? Maybe we can add a guy like Philip Forsberg. Maybe that will help out.
I keep on saying, why would Philip Forsberg come here? Why would he come here?
He would have to say, oh, wow, I love Barry Trotz. My rookie year, I played for him 20 games, and I love him.
And I sat on the bench a lot.
I don't give a shit about him, and I want to go somewhere else and score goals.
Or if you talk to Andrew Ladd's your friend, why would you go there?
Well, okay, it's different with Philip Forsberg, right? He's an elite talent. But here's the other thing. Remember, what was the case that people were making as to why the Islanders? They always said there's one reason, right? The Islanders didn't have the arena. Well, they have the arena, but it looks like this year, I don't think we're going to be making it back to the Eastern Conference Finals. So you can't say we're as close as a competitor as possibly other teams, right? It's tough to sell somebody on the idea of, we're one piece away if you don't make the playoffs. Right? Can we all agree on that? It's tough to sell somebody on that piece, right? We said that the stars and the moons had to align in order to get free agents here. We had to have the arena. Well, that was the reason why we could never land a big free agent, because we didn't have the arena. People don't want to play on two fronts. People don't want to have to drive out there. They don't want to have to drive out to the Barclays. We heard every freaking excuse under the sun why we were never able to sign a legitimate, big time free agent. If we're no longer a contender and we don't make the playoffs this year, would that not be a hindrance to free agents? Oh, you guys did make the playoffs. Your team's older. Oh, I don't want to sign on to something. If I want to win a cup to where you guys look like you fell off the map because you got older this season.
Or, you know what? I don't want my stats dropping where I get 40 points a year when I'm used to scoring 75 because all we play is defense. And I'm an offensive player. I still say, if you're an offensive talent, why would you ever consider coming here? I wouldn't.
Christopher C. Again, always nice. I love the anime on it, Christopher. He says, do you think the lineup will be the same against the next opponent we play? Or what do you think, Grumpy?
I think, I would have liked to see Jarnac play today. I would have sat Casey Zizekas. He's been underwhelming this year.
Well, you would have to not have activated him off the COVID, but I'm not sure how that works. If it's like once a doctor says you got to go back, they force them back in, or how that works. But if you could have left Casey another day on the COVID list and said, we're going to give Zarnak one more chance, I don't care if you're healthy or not, I think that's a different story.
Couldn't he just been a healthy scratch?
We don't have enough spots for healthy scratches like that. We had to go ahead and send two players down to Bridgeport. We sent Zarnak and we sent down Otto Koivula.
Okay.
So it was
Um,
all about the position. So if you could have said, I see you back, you're healthy, Casey, but I think maybe you're still having maybe your effects, maybe you're still feeling the effects. I want you to get one extra day of skating under your belt. You're not going to play tonight. We're going to make your comeback the week or the day after. We're going to have you back for Tuesday's game so you can give Zarnak a third game. But that's, I think, the only way you could have made that happen.
well, I would have sat Bailey then and played Bavillier.
No. You're not understanding. They had to send another guy to
I
the minors.
understand.
Who would you have sent?
I
You sent
understand.
Koivula. Who else? The only
It's
other guy you can maybe send was Aho or
okay.
Salo. That wouldn't
Okay.
have to go through waivers.
I understand. But what I'm saying is that doesn't mean you have to play them. You could play some of the other guys. I know you benched Bavillier today. Why not? What are you shaking your head no for?
To have the roster spots, you can only have so many healthy scratches on your team. That's what I'm saying. It's not like you can have infinite amount of healthy scratches. They had to send 2 players down to Bridgeport.
I understand. I'm not saying Zarnak.
So
That
who
doesn't
else
mean
instead of Zarnak?
no. I said you could sit Bailey, move Bavillier to the first line, and then play Casey, or
No.
you don't understand. Put Bavillier in the lineup instead of Casey Zizekas, and then fix the lines another way.
So you're saying still send Zarnak down to Bridgeport?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I thought you were saying don't send
No.
Zarnak to Bridgeport, and this is how we avoid it.
No.
Okay.
Because I think Parise works better on. I thought the fourth line was. I mean, they didn't play a whole lot.
Michael T says if Lou and Barry aren't on the same page, who is the problem? Well,
Barry's the problem.
I was about to say, I think for us, it's always Barry, just because we see him do these things, and we see like with the Oliver Wahlstrom issue, where the guy's averaging an unbelievable, unholy amount of points per 60 minutes and still plays 10 minutes of ice time a night. I point the finger at Barry.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, how dare you? You haven't won a Stanley Cup. You know nothing. You guys are know nothing hockey friends. You know nothing." It just drives me nuts.
Guess what? Barry didn't win one either. His players won, not him. They won in spite of him.
They said, we don't want to get Barry a cup, but we're going to win in spite of you, Barry. SB said, hey, Josh Bailey. Who? I want to know if you'll ever score a goal.
No, how you've ever scored a goal. See,
how you've ever scored.
You got to read what it actually says.
You didn't run with it, so I apologize. Tim Ward saying, that being said, I know that's one of my crutch words. I always say that.
Cute baby. Cute baby. Very cute.
It is. Look at that. It's a cute baby.
That's a very cute baby. Got more hair than me now.
It does. That baby does have more hair than you, Grumpy. It's close to having more hair than me, too. So I got no room to talk. The cousin Mo has said Jean-Gabriel Pageau looking a little better the last few games.
100% agreed.
Good point. Good point, Mose. I think that's 100% right. I've been noticing that too. I thought he had a good game tonight, and maybe we could say a little bit was on the netminder. I cannot even remember his name.
His skating was better.
Schmid letting that one in, but I think Jean-Gabriel Pageau has looked better as of recent, for certain.
Still not to where he was last year, but better. Certainly better than he was earlier in the season. He's a guy who should have been a healthy scratch earlier in the season when he was playing miserably. Nope, never. See, that's what I mean. It's like, why? Why not? Why don't these guys ever sit when they're not performing?
Yep. I agree, Drew S. I 100% agree. And Scott L saying here, now with three former Islanders saying not so glowing things about the organization, do you think Malkin and Ledecky make changes in the front office to stop the negative? No, here's the thing. Trust me, we're not going to overblow that, because what would a member of the Islanders media cartel say if they were in the same shoes? Oh my God, guys. Yes, this is such an awful thing. We need to remove Barry Trotz. We need to remove Lou Lamoriello. I really think it's somewhere in the middle. No, I'm just saying they would take a little tiny, we were able to build a little bit of a story with this, but they would take the story and stretch the shit out of it. That's not what we're going to do, because it's not right. I don't think they need to make any changes like that. I just think, honestly, it's miscommunication between Lou and Barry, just having different philosophies.
No, here's what I think. The media cartel would absolutely not say anything about it, because it makes the Islanders look bad. So you don't get it. You don't get how the cartel works.
No, I'm just saying, if the
they
cartel
goose step to the Islanders' way of thinking, they'll never even report that. You won't see it.
I know they won't report it. I'm saying if they had a story similar to this, but pro Islanders, they would take a little bit of this. Let's say they were saying, oh, the Islanders have done a fantastic job developing forwards. We can look at, Oliver Wahlstrom spent some time at Bridgeport. This guy spent, they would they would look at this minute little area and say, oh, I can extrapolate these 3 examples and say, this is everything.
What does that have to do with this comment here? Nothing. Okay, since TJ put it back up, since TJ has no idea what it actually means, Malcolm and Ledecky are not going to make changes to the front office. What they should do is have a talk with Lou and Barry, say, what the hell's going on over here? Everybody who leaves this organization says they're being treated like shit. How are we going to get free agents to come here, fellas? You need to knock this shit off, Barry.
Jeff E said, this might be your best podcast, inside information and in-depth analysis. But now that I'm kind of mad and not a Perry fan anymore, I'll say, like, I wouldn't say this is the exact reason to avoid Barry and say I'm not a fan of him. The guy's still a fantastic coach. But when we see items like this, it's important to bring it up because, trust me, Andrew Gross wasn't writing about this. Arthur Staple wasn't writing about this. None of the mainstream members of the Islanders media cartel were even touching this or covering it.
It's third rail stuff. They don't want to do that.
Nope. You want to get your press pass removed? Write yourself a little article at that. BP Brian P says here, I'm undefeated at UBS.
Good for you, Brian. You know, we're undefeated when we do the live stream of the games.
Or a point streak. But Scott L said same thing happened in Dallas. They called up a prospect. His family came in to see him play his first NHL game. Before the pregame skate, Ricky Bonus tells the kid he's not playing with the family in the crowd.
Yeah, not good.
Goodness gracious. Brett W says you should go more often, BP. Got to win some more games. Joe H says salary cap, talking about Devon Toews. I think he's talking about Devon Toews.
Yeah, well, that was a lie, too.
Cry Baby podcast every night. Hey, Joe.
Broadcast.
Cry Baby broadcast every night. Oh, every night I drop in and always all bitching. He meant podcast. He thinks we're a broadcast, but he meant podcast. Here's the thing, Joe. Are you happy with the performance you've seen out of the Islanders as of recent? Islander fan, are you happy? Are you elated with the position that we're currently in? Does that make you happy that we're dead last in the Metro, that we're struggling to win games, and that we how many games did it take us? 6 games to win our first home game? Joe, is that making you happy, man?
I have another question.
Seriously, does that make you happy? It shouldn't.
I have another question for Joe. Do you think we beat a good team? Do you think we can beat a good team? Because we haven't beaten a good team.
I tell you, it's for these people who don't like any criticism, right? We sing the praises of, guess what? We were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, Joe. We were singing the praises. We were singing the praises of the Islanders, right? We were also being critical when we needed to be critical. We're also going to be positive when we need to be positive. Just how it works. I'm not going to go ahead and say everything's all happy-go-lucky in Islanderland every freaking week. It's not the case. Frank Hay said, Eberle, Taves, and Leddy. Talking about how they've been playing. They've been playing well. I mean, look, Leddy hasn't been putting up points in droves, but Eberle plays. Even shitty teams have to have players that score. But Devon Toews, we always said he was going to excel in Colorado.
The only guy that I miss is Devon Toews. Not the other two because they were too old, in my opinion. Leddy's in his 30s now. Eberle's in his 30s. Taves is not. What's he, 26, 27? That's a guy it could be a building block. The other guy's not so much. Taves is the only one who bothers me, not the other two.
Matthew S. said, what's up, gentlemen? Just got home. First win at home. Islanders misery represented with pride.
Isles misery, radar. The best fan site there is.
Absolutely. Hey, it's good. I'm happy we finally got our first win at UBS Arena. I cannot tell you how happy I am. And, I hope it's the first of many more. The Islanders need to go on a win streak. We said before tonight's game, we talked about now 6 games ago, we were looking at a 10-game stretch for the Islanders. The Islanders needed 14 points out of those 10 games. Right now, they still need 7 points out of the next 4 games to hit that 14-point mark. Right? If you hit 14 points out of that 10-game stretch, you're starting to work your way back into making it into a playoff picture, right? We needed to do that. That was the important thing to help turn the ship around, right? We got to come away with, 3 wins and maybe 1 overtime loss over the next 4 games.
Yep. That was key. I mean, you have to take the season in segments, right? The first 2 segments were miserable. Let's see if we can improve on this one. That's the whole thing, right? But yeah, we need 7 points out of a possible 8 for the next 4 games. Boston's in there. Vegas is in there. Those are going to be 2 tough games. After that, we start playing a little bit tougher competition. Washington, Pittsburgh, I think, again. Those games are going to be struggles for us.
James F said, I find the Islanders more funny missing the empty net tonight than watching SNL right now.
I couldn't believe they kept on missing. It was comical at the end, missing.
I don't know. I do not like SNL. I used to love SNL. You look at back some of the old like gold SNL time periods, but I haven't watched SNL in such a long time. Bro.
I watched that show from its inception. It's unwatchable now. Unwatchable. It's just not funny.
Jared Ben said, Grump, you're internet famous. How does it feel?
I don't believe I'm internet famous.
Yeah, we're not internet famous. Do you guys?
I'm not even famous in my own house.
Do you guys have hemorrhoids sitting on the front in front of a camera podcasting 6 hours straight?
No, that's why we got up and moved after 3.5.
Oh man, CJ Scoot said there are 321 forwards who have played at least 205 on 5 minutes. Bailey's fourth high danger scoring chances ranks 320th, tied with Montreal's Mike Hoffman for the fewest in the league.
My question is, how can we make that sound flowery for Joe?
Yeah, Joe. I was about to say, like when you see stuff like that, Joe, when you see the stats like that, you say, "Oh man, well." Oliver Wahlstrom's been playing well, so don't even bother with Josh Bailey. Well, then you can also say Oliver Wahlstrom's not given enough time on ice. Oh, yeah. But we won today.
We did win today. We played a crappy Devils team. Today.
That's terrific.
That's the thing. We have to beat the teams underneath us in the standings. Has to happen. And we're going to have to beat some of the good teams. Haven't been able to do that this year at all so far.
The big teams we've beaten, right? Is it sad that over a quarter of the way through the season, I can name all the big teams that we've beaten? Think about it. I think the good teams we've beaten so far this year are Winnipeg and Vegas.
That's it. Only teams in the West. We haven't beaten any good team in the East. Those are ones we compete with for playoff spots.
Here's the thing. It's a long-ass season. Getting 14 points over the 10 games was, it's a goal. That was how we get ourselves back on mark. And it's still attainable. It's still attainable. We only need 7 points in the next 4 games.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We have to pass 6 teams in the standings. Not just points, it's teams. So you got to hope that every team tanks too. That's the most difficult thing.
James F. said, who has less talent, Isles or Billie Eilish hosting SNL? Do you know who Billie Eilish is, Grumpy?
She's a singer who's got blue hair, right?
I think green hair.
Whatever. What's the difference? She should put some soap in that shit. It will clean it out of there.
She's a very popular singer, Grumpy. I couldn't name a single one of her songs, but I just know she's a very popular.
I've heard of her. She's a scrawny little chick, right? A scrawny little kid.
I don't know. I don't think she's scrawny. I just know she sings songs. I couldn't name a single song that she sings.
She's really skinny, right? She's kind of skinny, really skinny.
Let's go ahead and
she looks like she weighs like what, 100 pounds?
I didn't tell you, Grump. I know she does have multiple color hair.
I thought she had blue hair. Put her picture up. Let's see what she looks like. I'm interested now. Now you have me interested in this Billie Eilish character.
I couldn't name a single song, but this is Billie Eilish.
Yeah. All right. Maybe she's not scrawny, but she does need to. She needs a. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's just your style, man. What can I say?
Yeah. Good for her.
Not everybody's cup of tea, but I couldn't even name a song. I know
she's a singer. She's got to be popular, right? She makes money. You're hosting Saturday Night Live. You have to be popular.
Yep. Stephen V said, I remember a guy named by the name of Coffee who had defensive flaws in his game. Guess Barry would have sat him for Bailey.
Paul Coffey. I say it 100 times. Bossy, Gretzky, Lemieux, Coffey never could play for Barry Trotz. Didn't play enough defense.
Matthew S. said, I agree. I love Bailey, but he's not getting the job done at all.
No. He's done as a player. Done.
Greg Frost saying here, Chara has ruined any chemistry this team had. Trotz is a buffoon. His usefulness has worn off. By the way, thanks for doing this. Thanks by doing during game podcast, because I work evenings and don't get to see a lot of the games. Keep up the play-by-play, Grumpy.
Yeah, that's a TJ thing. He wants to squash me doing the play-by-play. Always. He goes on some ridiculous tangent that really is better suited for this podcast as opposed to the watch-along. But TJ, why don't you read another ad during the middle of the game while we're scoring goals? That went off great.
Jared Ben wants to know who would win a fight, Grumpy Old Man, SpongeBob SquarePants or Bailey? Do you know who SpongeBob SquarePants is, Grumpy?
Yeah, SpongeBob SquarePants would kick his ass, and so would Patrick Starfish. I think Squidward would too.
God, oh, freaking mighty! Look at you knowing everybody there.
And who's the squirrel girl? I know the squirrel girl
Sandy
would.
Cheeks.
Sandy Cheeks.
Sandy Cheeks.
She'd kill Bailey. She would kill him. It would be like Ronda Rousey fighting you. Same thing.
Jesus
You
Christ.
get killed by Ronda Rousey. Killed by Ronda Rousey. She would destroy you. And I tell that because we've had that discussion before on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show. Well, that's just fun. I'm sorry.
Gotcha. Warzone Senior Sister says, UFC fights are on. Would love to see you guys cover the MMA. I was about to say,
Actually, that's kind of
watch. I'm trust me, I am nowhere near experienced enough to cover that. I can casually watch and be like, punch the living shit out of them. But
you just watch them as a fan, watching guys get kicked in the face, biting their knuckles, whatever the heck they do in their splits.
I would provide no insightful commentary on that at all.
You know what I liked? I liked the tough man contests they used to have. They used to roll in through town. Not the MMA. Those guys are really professionals, but like you'd have just some jabronis up there, and they would battle it out, over 2 nights. And all you do is sign up and fight. I don't even think you had to pass a physical. And you see guys just get knocked out. None of this, tying guys up, locking them down, just like throwing punches. It's like a legalized bar fight. That's what it was. Great
Christ
stuff.
Almighty. God Almighty, Grump.
The battle of the tough guys.
CJ Scoot says the Parise or the Pajot Parise tandem has been good for the penalty kill. I have to give him that.
Yeah,
I think so too. I think Parise again. Parise has done a lot of good things for the team. He can't.
He just doesn't score.
He's not a goal. Don't expect much goal production out of him. He's a guy who eats minutes and a guy who has a lot of energy.
He just doesn't have a lot of upside. He's got no upside. That's the whole thing. You want guys with some upside.
Michael T saying Dwayne Sutter was an NHL beast for the Islanders. He fought, he scored, he assisted, a bona fide NHLer.
Yeah, he was really good, Dwayne. I like Dwayne Sutter. Really good player. In the glory years, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we'll look at that, Drew, afterwards there at that video you sent there. I know you said it was a little longer, but we'll look at that afterwards. Mario is saying here, this is not the airport, so no need to announce your departure. Oh, I don't know who that was for.
I don't know what that means.
REC said the sick thing is Wallstrom is not a defensive liability. What excuse does Barry use to keep him on the third line besides his age? I was about to say, I'm really not sure how much longer he can continue to keep him there because the guy's producing, right? Ideally, I want Josh Bailey to produce. I want Anthony Beauvillier to produce. That means the team's doing well. If Josh Bailey's producing and Anthony Beauvillier are producing, we are beating teams. We are not only beating the teams below us, we're beating some teams above us too. I firmly believe that if we have production out of Beauvillier and Bailey, our team would be flying high.
Yes. When Josh Bailey's playing on your first line, your team sucks. If he's playing on your third line, that means other guys are producing. Here's the thing. They've already earned the chance to play on the first line, but just haven't been given the shot. But if your first line is better, and like I said, Josh Bailey as a third liner, I'm fine with. He's totally unproductive. Honestly, I don't think he's much of a player anymore. I think he's hit that age where he's just finished. But the fact that it's like putting Komarov on the first line or Parise and Panic earlier this year. Why? What have they done to deserve that ice time? It's just baffling to me. Always will be.
Michael T saying, hey, Mike Bossy wasn't pretty to look at except when he was scoring goals.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Drew L saying, yeah, Phil Kessel's looking like a typical Southerner, looking a middle-aged dad who loves to chug a beer with the boys at a local cookout.
I agree with that.
Oh,
he looked like that one picture looked like one of those pictures when you see a guy who's got into some drunken brawl and he's holding at the police station. That's what they look like before they slap him up there and take their picture that shows he's 5'11".
Warzone senior citizen saying here, that's why it's a mistake to commit over 5 million AAV to a defenseman who can't score. Talking about Pelech, I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's a good signing for him. He works a lot better with Pulock, with Ryan Pulock, and without Ryan Pulock, he's struggled this season. He has.
That's why he didn't get 9 million per, because he doesn't score. The only guys who get that type of money are guys who put the puck in the net. Watch out.
I agree.
Noah Dobson is earning money every game. He's earning more money next year every game.
Remember when I told you he'd have 10 goals this year?
You did say that.
I'm standing by that statement. I still feel very confidently he's going to put up 10 goals this season.
I remember when you said Zach Parise was going to score 15 to 20. You're standing by that one, or you just going to dismiss that one?
Zach Parise, if you make me right and score 15 goals. And here's the thing. If Zach Parise scored 15 goals, we're making the playoffs too. I'm going to go out on a limb and say if Zach Parise scores 15 goals, we'll make the playoffs. Seriously, think about it. If you have production like that out of the third line guy, you have to assume everybody else is performing too. Sal P said nobody's giving up a first for Mayfield. I disagree. Look at what players get paid. Think about how crazy at the deadline teams overpay for players. We trade away a second round pick for Andy Green. There always is somebody out there looking for some sort of additional piece. And think about it. Scott Mayfield only gets paid what, like $1.5, $2 million a year?
$1.45 million for this year and next year.
I think he has got cost certainty. He's a top 4 defenseman for you for the next year too at $1.5 million AAV. So Scott Mayfield, if a team is interested, is a huge plus
for a defensively structured team, a solid defensively structured team. That's why he'd get a first round. I firmly believe he would net a first round pick. And if somebody offers you that, as much as I love Scott Mayfield, I'm definitely moving on from him.
And then Paul OC said, say what you want to say, but I think this team is underachieving. The team is pretty good team, and I think the problem is the defensive system, and that's why Trotz has to go. I don't think it's the system that's been the fault. I think it's just some of the older players are struggling. And think about it: Bavillier's not producing, Bailey's not producing. That's 2 consistent players in your top 6 that are not producing. Lee was up and down. He had a few games where he produced, others where he didn't. And Kyle Palmieri isn't providing goals. It's essentially Matt Barzal. Brock Nelson was playing well. Jean-Gabriel Pageau hasn't really awoken until like the last 5 games. So, I mean, like you didn't have really anything working for you for the first half of the season or the first quarter of the season.
Yeah, I don't think it's a system either. Barry gets the most out of his players. I just don't think we're talented enough. I think that we're aging out, which means, the players have maybe lost half a step. And in this system, the way we play, that's like death. How many times we see today them again just walk into the zone? The whole 5 guys are all 10 foot inside the blue line. Can't let guys walk in the zone like that.
Matthew S. said Pageau has been finding himself. For certain he has. And you want to talk about a huge plus? When Jean-Gabriel Pageau is playing like the Jean-Gabriel Pageau we saw last year in the playoffs before getting injured, that is a huge plus to this organization.
Yes.
What a film saying, you guys still going at it? Had to walk Charlie. Deer run around this city like pets, and Charlie wants to hunt them down. Your friend in Lethbridge, Alberta.
The deer run around this city like pets. I'm going to remember that for a while. Nice to talk to you, Woody.
Absolutely. Always good to hear from you, Woody. And Drew L saying, Grump, I agree. Sports should be talent-based with a tad bit of morals. If the athlete's not producing, I don't care if he's played for 20 seasons. Goodbye.
I mean, the whole thing is coaches and GMs keep their jobs based on the product that is out on the ice or on the field or on the basketball court. And you can't have loyalty like that. It should be a ruthless, cutthroat business. I mean, you see it in every other sport. I mean, for me, it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. I see more talent with the younger guys and who have upside. The old guys have no upside. Just don't. The biggest problem is re-signing guys to long-term deals. Casey Zizekas and Kyle Palmieri are just the 2 for this offseason every single year. He can't make that mistake this year because there's not anybody out there but Cal Clutterbuck.
Well, Grumpy, you've got a very, very important question that the fans and the audience.
Kate Beckinsale.
Okay, they say, hey, Grump, Megan Fox or Kate Beckinsale?
Kate Beckinsale.
I didn't even know who Kate Beckinsale was.
She's aged very well.
How old is she?
I don't know. She's got to be in her 30s.
Oh, she used to date that clown. Oh, man, what the hell? Pete Davidson. Oh, God almighty. Ugh. She used to date Pete Davidson. God
Megan
almighty.
Fox hasn't aged well. I think she like got really, really skinny. Kate Beckinsale, I just think Kate Beckinsale is beautiful.
They both date those really weird people. She dates Machine Gun Kelly, and the other guy used to date Kate Beckinsale used to date freaking Pete Davidson. My God Almighty,
I don't get that.
they're both weird looking fellas. John P said, "You guys are the best." Thanks, John P. You're the best.
Hey, John, how I hope the graduation ceremony went well today. I know that you represented the way you should. And there he is wearing the robes. He's the professor of the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. Our man, John Petrone.
Now Sal P said Trotz was a scrub as a player and not good enough to make the NHL. So you think maybe he holds it against younger talented player who he is deeming aren't tough enough yet. I'm just grasping at straws trying to figure out why he won't play Wally. I don't think it's that.
I think they used to pants him and give him wedgies. The veteran players, the good players did, because he was a little scrubby little toad. So they tortured him, and now psychologically hates talented players.
If I was a toad, have you?
Couldn't you just see him being a little toad out there on the ice?
If I was a toad. Oh my goodness!
His little armadillo self crawling across the highway. They take him out of his shell or flip him over or whatever the hell they do.
James F saying, "Why would Forsberg come here, Grumpy? Money, if it's right. So we've got to overpay everybody."
Well, that's the whole thing, overpaying.
That's like, oh man, I hate that.
If Tampa Bay offered you, here's the thing: Tampa Bay could offer you less salary because there's no state income tax in Florida. Where would you go?
Probably
I go to Tampa.
If it was there, if they had the cap. What a film said, "The warden is watching." Grumpy is more of a Farrah Fawcett kind of guy. Send him that type of poster.
Farrah Fawcett, man, she was hot.
Matthew S saying, "I certainly hope that it's not his mentality because that's really effed up if true."
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
No. And then what a film said, "These guys are putting in long hours for our entertainment. Don't forget to order your shirt. My order is coming. Car broke down, computer died, and in a flood in the basement. Give me some time." LOL.
Well, I'm ordering myself some shirts because pretty soon that's all I'm going to be doing is wearing those shirts. I'll wear the occasional Islanders shirt, but you won't see like maybe I'll roll out periodically. I will roll out some of the music shirts. But
Michael T wants to know if you're a fan of the Jerky Boys.
No.
I know you answered it earlier, but I didn't think you heard. Yeah. I was about to say, Greg Foss said SNL has been unwatchable since the Chris Farley years.
Chris Farley was funny.
What a film said, "How old are you, TJ? This will help with future comments, or how do I need to find it out? I don't know these days. I'm in late 20s.
Gosh, it's amazing how I just think it's amazing how your hair didn't hold up.
That's it, Grumpy. That's it. Michael T said, "Billie Eilish is not scrawny or skinny by any means. I'd call her
voluptuous."
Or
yeah, I would say the pictures that you put up, I don't remember her looking like that. His thing, it's not like I'm, stalking Billie Eilish. I think I just saw her on a show once with her brother or something, and I thought she looked really skinny. But certainly the pictures TJ put up there, that was not the case.
I didn't know she had brothers. What a film
she had a brother. Well, maybe I was just looking at somebody totally different.
You need to go live to the Islanders games, Grumpy. It needs to be run. Oh my God, needs to run the show. Grumpy,
first of all, that'll never happen. TJ would never ever relinquish control. He's one of those controlling type personalities. Like I said, you should hear me. You should hear him, Wada. As soon as I start talking about what's actually going on the ice, he was complaining today that I wasn't looking at the camera. I was looking at the game. And I'm like, well, how the hell can I tell what's going on in the game if I'm not looking at it?
Oh, man.
And anytime I try to do a little bit of play-by-play, shuts me right down. Yeah, okay. I have a point to make about loose stools or something like that.
I've got a point to make about Joe Montadance with a D, with an N.
Montadance, not Montadance.
I like Montadance. There you go, Grumpy. Greg F saying, "Big upset in UFC. Pena beat Nunez."
Oh, okay. I don't know who either one of them are, but I hope it was a good fight.
Hong Kong Fooey could kick Bailey's ass too.
Hong Kong Fooey, just another super guy. Hong Kong Fooey, quicker than a human eye. Boom chicky boom boom chicky. Hong Kong Fooey used to be a little Saturday morning cartoon back in the 70s. He was Henry, an unassuming janitor in kind of like Tommy Baffy in a police department, and then he turned into superhero Hong Kong Fooey when he jumped into a like a dump. What do they call them? What are the big garbage cans? I can't believe what the heck they call them. A dumpster. He jumped into a dumpster and he'd come out with a little Hong Kong Fooey mobile.
Well, let me ask you this, Grumpy. Now, was Hong Kong Fooey, what type of dumpsters? Whose dumpsters did he, or whose trash cans did Hong Kong Fooey clean?
The
Anybody
one out
important?
behind the police station.
Oh, man. Well, he didn't clean anybody importance.
And he was played by Scatman Crothers, was the voice of Hong Kong Fooey. I love that cartoon.
I used to watch a little bit of this cartoon when I was a kid. I don't ever remember anything, but I remember watching a little bit of Hong Kong Fooey.
Yeah, and Rosemary was the secretary. I don't remember the cop's name, but I
definitely don't remember that.
Yeah.
Hong Kong.
I also, another show I really liked that we could talk about tomorrow, Lancelot Link's Secret Chimp.
What?
Yeah. They used to have, it was like a live action where they would do like a spy type of show using monkeys, chimpanzees, and they used to put gum in their mouth. So they'd have somebody talk over, so going, and like they would, like they were talking. It was great.
Stephen V said, for Mr. John, you have to remember, New Jersey sat both of their goalies tonight. They played a minor leaguer tonight. It's insulting that teams can do that. It's a problem. Well, here's the thing. I thought they were out due to injuries because I know Bernier has been out. Blackwood has been injured for the majority of the year. And again, this was our fourth goalie in the organizational depth chart at the beginning of the season.
They were also missing Hersher and Graves too, which were, COVID protocols. I didn't hear anybody. Maybe they should have canceled the game, right?
No. Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, like, we'll mention it because it is worth mentioning, right? So we're not going to opine on it and say that's the only reason they lost, but it is worth mentioning, right? We're not going to be like the Islanders where they say, oh, well, the reason the New Jersey Devils lost is because they were down to their fourth goalie and they're a really good team with a solid effort now.
Here's why I disagree. I don't give a shit what's going on with their roster. You play with the hand you're dealt. You're missing guys with COVID. That's just the way it goes. I mean, I'm sure Lou wasn't saying, hey, let's give the Devils a break today. They got COVID, so maybe we shouldn't play the game. He was probably going, yeah, we're playing that game no matter what. We already missed too many games with our issues. We don't care about them.
John P. saying, congratulations to Eastern New Mexico University graduating class of fall of 2021 today. Go Hounds.
The Greyhounds.
James F. saying, Billie Eilish looks normal with normal hair. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm saying that didn't look like the girl I saw. I thought her hair was blue.
Michael T says there's actual present day bare knuckle fighting leagues.
That I bet you there's a lot of knockouts in that league. I just like the guys with no talent who get in and think they can fight. Oh, like TJ.
Ridiculous. Drew Alley sent us a few ideas. We'll check out in the Wallstrom one too. Okay, gotcha. And then what a film saying Wallstrom is good in the offensive zone. He's a bit weak in neutral zone and defensive zone, but he's looked good. He looks like he's shored up some of those issues of the last few games. He's playing good hockey, that's for certain.
Not good enough to make the first line though.
Oh yeah, Matthew S saying, by the way, Coach Tommy B is in Cancun. I'm jealous.
Good for him.
I'm jealous, man. Jealous. I'm going to Cancun in June. I'm going to Cancun sometime this year, later on in the off season. Make sure to make it in the off season, grumpy old man, so he wouldn't miss any podcasts. Michael T said, Toronto sorely needs a defensive defenseman. Do we make a deal with Toronto for Mayfield?
If they offer enough, I would.
I think.
What do I care?
I know I said a first round, but I think you can get more for Mayfield. He's so freaking cheap. He's so cheap. He's a top 4 defenseman on a top 5 defensive team in the NHL, and he had a lights out playoffs last season. I think you can get maybe a first and then some for Mayfield. I really think he's so cheap, and you have him for an additional year. Well, and that fits perfectly into a team. Think about it. A team that's competing that needs a top 4 defenseman that contributes defensively. You have a guy that less than $1.5 million for this year and for next season. Holy shit! With playoff experience that plays top 4 minutes.
But here's the biggest thing, and that's where I think our defensemen are more valuable than other defensemen around the league. They can actually play defense, which is key, right? Mm. So maybe a guy like that does rate more of a haul. I don't know. We'll find out.
What a film approves of the 2-button collared shirt, the collared T-shirt, and he's saying, "You look like a prototype TJ Grumpy. You're always looking good. You'll get there, young fella." And then Steve V said, Grumpy, if you say Barry gets the most out of his players and we don't have enough talent, isn't the real problem Lou? He did
Yes,
nothing in the offseason while we all held our breath.
I think it's a combination of the two. I think Barry wants the older players there. Lou's going to give Barry what he wants for the most part, and the guys have just aged out. And we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming.
Greg Frost saying Lancelot Link was hilarious. Grump. None of my friends heard of this, and they think I'm full of shit.
No,
Lancelot
man.
Link was hilarious. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp. It was great.
tell me about it.
There has to be something on YouTube on Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp. Has to be. Has to be.
What is it, Grumpy? What's Lancelot Link Secret Chimp?
It was a television show. It was a Saturday morning television show where they had real chimpanzees playing. Lancelot Link was like James Bond, and he had a girlfriend. I don't remember her name, and they had arch villains. There you go, Lancelot Links. And they'd walk around, they'd dress them up like that, these poor little monkeys, and they put bubble gum in their mouth, and they go with their mouth, and people would, they have voiceovers, and it looks like Marta, that was her name. Marta was the girlfriend. Hey, Marta, and she'd just be chewing on the gum. It was hilarious, or butter, peanut butter, whatever the heck they put in their mouth. It was
I
hilarious.
was going to say, hopefully peanut butter. I don't know.
There was the bad guy right there. There was a bad guy, looked
right
like
there?
a Nazi. Yeah, he was a bad guy. And scroll up a little. Go look at Lancelot Chink on a chopper.
Lancelot Link. Lancelot Link.
Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp, man. He was the best. It was hilarious. That show was great. Here's the thing. I haven't seen it in forever, but so maybe it hasn't aged well. I don't know, but I remember it being hilarious. I understand.
He's saying it was always extremely hilarious after a few hits of the bong. LOL.
Yeah, man. Lancelot Link was the best.
James F said, TJ, there's a Santa on SNL wearing white gloves.
Oh, no, not the white gloves.
The evil.
I can't believe you didn't know that Santa Claus always wear the white gloves.
I just don't pay attention. It looked weird on him. I don't know. I got some off-putting items from, I don't know. Michael T said, you could always see them looking for direction, looking off screen with the trainers.
Yeah. Yeah. That show was great, though.
Grumpy, man, we're towards the end of today's podcast. What would you like to say before we wrap things up?
I just want to say, if you want more information on Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp, and shows of that ilk, please tune in tomorrow for the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show, because that one's a little bit off the rails, but it's really a lot of fun. And but I do want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
You can find the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man podcast in the link in the description below. Also, again, if you're new here to TJ or the Islanders Never Say Die podcast, I implore you, stick around a while, subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. And thanks so much again, guys, for tuning in. A great first win tonight at UBS Arena for the New York Islanders. Hopefully it's something they can build off of. Hopefully we get the offense headed in the right direction. Hopefully the scoring woes are an issue of the past. Hopefully we'll rectify those issues. That being said, thank you again, Grumpy Old Man.
My pleasure.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening to tonight's podcast. Again, we love the interaction we have with every single listener of this show. What a Film saying Lancelot Link was hilarious. A new show for you to watch, TJ, Hammy Hamster. And then Matthew is saying, great show. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Thank you again, Grumpy.
My pleasure.